Okay.
Oh, I thought he was talking about. Okay, good evening, welcome to, the City of Hudson Planning Board meeting for June the 11th, 2025. And we're going to start our meeting by opening up the public hearing. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing for 1012 Warren Street?
I make it.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 1012 Warren Street.
Good evening, Charlie Gottlieb from Wayman Oxford in Canada, here on behalf of the applicant as the property group. I'm here this evening with our project engineer, Crawford Associates, as well as the project site owner, Ben Rinsler, and the manager of the future hotel, Crystal Lampfield. Again, we are proposing a 27-room hotel, property at 10 to 11 Orange Street. There's an existing vacant building there that will be repurposed, renovated for the hotel. I'm here this evening for a public hearing. We submitted for this meeting in response to some of the comments we received at your last meeting. So I just want to run through those quickly, and then I'll hand it over and we can walk through some of the site plan changes and also a presentation for any members of the public that are wondering what the project is going to look like. So we submitted a project narrative. The board at the last meeting had questions about how the project would operate, what's the check-in process, what are the security features, and so on. It's important to note that this applicant, this owner, Madison Property Group, also owns the Hudson Whaler and the Hudson Mariner, and they're operated in very similar manners, which the planning board both approved those applications previously. There will be daily front desk attendance attendant at this hotel. Monday through Thursday, it'll be 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Friday and Saturday, it'll be 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sundays will be 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. When there is not a front desk person there, there will be an assistant manager on call 24/7, who is local, able to assist in any issues that come up in the hotel and so forth. We actually provided the names of those managers and assistant managers in our project narrative. There will be 14 housekeeping staff for the 27 rooms. They typically would be at the facility from 9:30 a.m. to about 1 o'clock or 3 p.m. in the afternoon. There will be 3 maintenance personnel at the facility as well to handle any maintenance issues. The check-in process, again, is very similar to those previously approved hotels. If you're checking in during the day when there is someone at the front desk, obviously they will be there to assist you. After hours, if you plan on checking in after hours, prior to your stay, a member of the hotel team contacted you, asked you when you plan on coming. If you are going to be in an after-hours check-in, you will be sent instructions and detailed instructions how to access your room and so forth. So, I know one of the issues is building height here. So, there was a call between our design consultants, the code enforcement officer, and I believe their planning board engineering consultants. I do still think there are some calculations, it sounds like, regarding the need, how we calculate building height. But the changes this go around are that there is only one staircase access now to the roof. There is no public access to the roof whatsoever. There still maintains those, we're calling them penthouses, but they're not the penthouses like you would think. They're basically mechanical rooms on the roof that service the elevator that would be used for the building. If it is determined that we need a variance for building height, we will seek a variance for building height, which would be pretty insignificant. We did also receive correspondence from the State Historic Preservation Office. So given that this building is, I believe, listed on the National Register of Historic Places, we had to do a pretty detailed consultation with SHPO, first for archaeological purposes. So we submitted what's known as a phase 1A, phase 1B archaeological assessment. And that was done by Hudson Cultural Services. That was submitted to SHPO, there were around some comments and back and forth. Essentially, SHPO sent us a letter that said, they don't find any impacts related to archaeological potential impacts on the project site. There were shovel tests, some digging, no artifacts were found, and things of that nature. The SHPO letter did request that we make a formal submission for purposes of SECRA, that's State Environmental Quality Review Act. So we'll be following up on that, and that is what we hope to trigger what's known as a no adverse impact letter. That will complete your record for purposes of SECRA as far as historic preservation goes. So, one of the main issues, not surprising to anyone in the room, they're playing more questions about parking. So a parking study is underway. That obviously takes a little bit more time. I would imagine that is completed prior to our next planning board submission for your review. We have some revised site plans and architectural drawings that we will run through that essentially show the changes to the roof. I'm not sure if there are any other changes. We also provided a engineering response to comment letter to Crawford and Associates, which are in response to our most recent comments that we got from the Department of Defense. Okay, so we'll walk through the site plans for members of the public and just planning.
If you. You're a vegan, something, yeah. I was gonna let him bring it up. So you know.
Yeah, that concludes the one.
No, for the last, not from the ones we got in the last.
Are these ones that you uploaded?
Yes.
Okay, when?
Apologies, my name is Ken Lloyd, and I'm the Crawford Associates, project engineer.
When did you upload this photograph or this image?
Yeah, I was just saying, we received, just recently, a new comment response letter, and the changes since then have not been.
Okay.
I meant the, so we got a comment response letter before the last meeting.
Right.
That's what this submission reflects. But we haven't yet addressed the recent comments that we've obtained.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is, there's a lot, so we brought in existing conditions plan, the proposed condition plan, and then, I believe this is the
Do you
elevation.
have a bullet for them?
That's right.
So the existing condition plan shows the existing structure right now. The addition will go further to the back. And I guess I'd do it that.
You know, can the public see this? See their program? What you guys should come over here and stand so the public can also see it, because you're gonna submit this to us. Oh, yeah, turn it where the public can see it, because it's been submitted to us.
Right. Like, the attendance,
Like, yeah, stand
Yeah,
side.
we got it.
the great. Yeah, these are the existing conditions. Okay. The existing building, the addition will go towards the back. We do have Warren Street on this side and, Prison Alley on the back.
Yeah.
Just to orient. Oh, that's it. Good. I can turn it around in a minute.
Everybody else can see. Okay.
Sorry.
You're gonna go in front of the easel there? In front of what, if you go in front
On
of
this side?
see in front of, right there in front of the Then they won't be able to see us. Okay, we have to see it too.
Uh, The proposed conditions show, the addition in the back, again, Warren Street on the bottom, Prison Alley on the top. One parking space in the back. The new building will have a courtyard in the center area and towards the back. And, I feel like for a general summary, that's, you know, I'm happy to go into more detail. And then we can show the elevations. Just so that you get a sense of what the building will look like.
You could pass that around.
This time Warren Street is over here on this side. Prison Alley on this side, and this is the side view of the building. And what Charlie was referring to earlier is, previously, there were two staircase housing up there. But per the conversations, this will be changed to only one at the top. Also, as Charlie already mentioned, we're currently working on the parking and traffic study. That will be ready in time, 2 weeks before the July meeting. And by then, everything should be available for submission.
Any things? Yeah, okay. Any questions from the planning board? It was planning board want to keep the site visit down, but you guys been there to see it.
I just, from Warren Street, it's like there's more access.
Yeah, have to go back to the alley. It's really like that here down there today. Yeah, that little alley, right?
Yep.
Usually at a site visit, the applicant will meet you there, and they will show you, sometimes you need to ask them to flag. So this is a building, so like, you'll be able to flag, like, when the new building will be, they'll be the applicant or the engineer, and then just the engineer will point it out. Where you are, so it's not simply just walking the site, usually I think that.
So would we like to get a driving tour of those, or you've been going your own?
I'm happy to go on the phone, but if anybody else is thinking that. I don't know.
And just one clarification, there's actually gonna be
See, I'm
four
familiar with the
parking,
area. That's fine.
4 parking spaces in the back, there's just 1 car shown.
And your handicap space is gonna be in the front.
Correct, we're working that out with DPW.
The way it's proposed now, they don't meet handicap accessibility. It needs to be a recessed aisle.
We have to cut the curb back.
Correct, if you go outside, you'll see how the curb is cut out
Yes,
here,
right.
it needs to be similar there to meet ADA.
And DPW have to give them that information, right?
Correct, so DP doesn't give them that permission, they need to rethink something on the site plan to provide ADA access.
Is there any weight that's provided in the back?
So I mean, technically, yes, but the elevation of the access to the building does not allow for it. Just where the elevator is located, you know,
It
you can
doesn't
park there,
come
but you wouldn't be able to get into the building
Because
properly.
the elevator doesn't come down to the lower part of the building.
I would have to defer to the architect exactly, but yes, my understanding is that, from the backside, that is only stairs.
The other concern I have is in back, along the property line, they're paving right up the property line, we're giving no room to grade. And it slopes up pretty good, so if they're gonna do that, they're gonna need a retaining wall on each side of that parking lot to make that grade work.
If you don't get it from DPW, definitely.
Well, then they buy it regardless,
Yeah,
whether.
Yeah, we are in coordination, with the DPW, we hope they will approve something similar to what's out here.
and Chris, you said that you saw the alleyway,
Yes,
and it was very narrow, right?
it's really tight back there.
Yeah, much more than what it showed the last time we were here.
Correct, and there's car park on the townhouse side, and it makes it feel tighter back there, so.
But, so. You're going to, because you're gonna have the ADA access in the alley, so.
No.
No, on the other side.
It's gonna be on the other side, so you're not gonna have to have a wheelchair, why do you have to have a wheelchair slide through there?
No.
It doesn't need to be any system. So how are the wheelchairs getting in?
They go around the front and you can see that side access. They also haven't demonstrated that that's ADA compliant.
I guess that's my question.
That was the previous answer that was interesting.
And you guys did not get a chance to address, the comments that were submitted?
The new ones?
Yeah.
No, there was not enough time. We're still in coordination with the DPW. Yeah, there were a few comments that will just lead to revisions.
One of the responses you said is that, you did talk to Verizon, you needed Verizon for the underground.
There's a telephone line that runs through the back of the project. That runs from the parcel to the left and goes across to the church. Is there an easement that's associated with that or?
Also, that is still in coordination, about the details and how that,
Typically, I love the ones that each know the rights percent of the set.
Yeah.
Out of the job.
So if there's an easement, then you get it vacated, reroutes.
Or something happens.
And if the church is on it, they have to notify the church.
so yeah, just for context. The data line in the existing drawing is just, so. This is the data line you're referring to, right?
So, well, I guess my question is, so where are you at with HPC? So have you, I mean, I know we need to do seeker before you, or boards moving, but have you submitted an initial pre-phase to HPC?
No, not one. No, we wanted to further this process along prior to going to HPC, just so we could get a comfort level from the planning board, not necessarily a neg deck, but a comfort level that you're happy with the elevations. You know, there's no site design elements from an engineering perspective that could change the project. I want to avoid the ping pong back and forth with HPC and the planning board.
So will your next submission then have, I mean, you don't need the level of detail that HPC needs, the grades of the windows and. You know, but in what range material is, but will it be, I mean, your elevations are not, it's not clear, like, I assume it's all brick, but it's not clear that, and the wings are historic. So I guess. What should,
For some more detail.
yeah, I think, I mean, I can't speak for the board, but HPC is going to require a great level of detail, so I don't know whether the planning board can't weigh in. If you're waiting for planning board, I feel like the planning board should be able to weigh in on what it looks like, or else you are gonna have to ping pong and go back. Because both boards have the right to.
Sure, yeah, I mean, typically, any of the code, we're here for site plan review, which is engineering, site layout, site design. But we can have Walter add some more detail and, some materials and so forth that would be utilized for the planning board review.
Any more questions from the planning board members? Okay, any questions from the public? Okay, so, the application was 10/12.
Please state your name.
My name is Diana, I live in the immediate area, and I have a question, I'm sorry.
Can't hear you, can you come on?
Well, besides the parking, which is obviously a huge issue for this space because of the number of rooms, I'm curious, maybe. I'm just curious, like, how this is gonna relate to. The alley next door, it's not really an alley, like not the alley that goes through the whole block, but the alley between the sort of empty space between. This and 6 to 8 Warren. And like.
Is that the church?
No, it's going toward corner toward Front Street, yeah.
Talking about this space?
This is the church.
Yes, like, I'm
This
curious,
space.
like, yeah, is it just gonna be a closed wall here, or like?
That's the property line, right?
Yes,
That's the
Yeah.
existing wall to the space.
is it
So, yeah,
also
this is-
just gonna be a closed wall in between these properties, or no, or like, how does that happen?
If there is a courtyard that's in the middle, I'm going to close plan. So there is a courtyard in the middle,
Yeah.
that's a sunken area that's gonna be a green space.
What is it, what is the line, what is it gonna be of the line? Is it gonna be just an open space to the open space on the other property, or like, is it gonna be a wall?
You want to show her where the exterior walls are?
Yeah,
So this is the existing exterior wall, there is already a wall that's currently there,
yeah,
and then further to the back, in terms of the fence.
yeah,
There's no changes on that side, but this is the new exterior wall, extending to a retaining wall on this end there.
okay, so it's actually going to be a wall, likely a wall.
Yes, but there's elevation changes, so this
Yeah.
is not at the same elevation.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the area, yeah, okay, very good, cool, thank you.
And remember, this is the public hearing, and you can submit, your comments in writing.
I'm sorry,
I said it is the public hearing, and you can submit your comments in writing,
okay.
okay? Any more questions from the public? Okay, yes, we can,
When do you think we'll have a next full submission?
Let's see, when is the next planning board meeting? If
it's July,
let's say July 10th.
So I think Seeker, I mean, I don't think you're gonna get a, have you submitted to SHPO yet?
Have you guys, and I don't believe so.
So I think August might make more sense, because then Seeker and.
it's July 8th. July
You're not
8th.
gonna get that response if you haven't submitted already.
But it would be helpful, we will be able to submit to respond to Christian's latest engineering
Well,
memo.
we can work on that behind the scenes, rather than come in.
Okay. As long-
Because the board can't move to do anything until we get the SHPO.
Understood.
So we wanna say you'd be back in August or September,
August.
do the few things or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, August.
So, sorry.
I wish we had started.
And we'll submit to SHPO and recently they've been okay, so.
Yeah, 60 days, you're just not gonna meet, it's already the 11th, so you're not gonna meet.
So August 12th,
Summer's almost over.
August 12th, August 12th is the next meeting, is that when you want from that?
Okay,
Can I get a motion to adjourn the public hearing for 10-12 Warren Street? August 12th. I mean, to continue the public hearing. For 10-12 Warren Street to August 12th, 2025. Jean, everybody second on it? Okay. Veronica, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, it passes. See you in August.
thank you. Yeah.
So I think that.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Old business. 59 North Front Street. Hello,
Hi, how are you?
is there something going on with the maps? There's something going on with the masters.
Oh, no, I just have,
Okay.
I'm gonna talk about it.
Hi.
My name's. We met last month, I'm a representative of the project as the architect, trying to charter on fence. I'm here to with.
Yeah, I'm going for Crawford,
Yes. And I'm also here with.
I'm kind of like presenting code secret record, like this.
And we got our initial comments just this morning.
I understand,
Yeah.
and we understand that you probably haven't answered them.
No, we've not responded.
Okay, no problem.
But we have gone through them to know, if there was any answer that we could provide. Maybe, address tonight. Over.
there's a lot there.
Yeah.
You know, letter. There just needs to be some general cleanup and coordination between the two sets of plans. Which there really needs to be some detail, you know, paid attention to. There's fire retention areas that don't match the details, the elevation of the pipes. The one fire retention outside the building has pipes floating in midair. There's some grading that's one-on-one, that's not acceptable. So you really need to pay attention to some of the, I did stop. After, you know, 14 pages, we said enough's enough, so, you need to go back to the drawing board and, you know, pay attention.
Understood that, we can understand it's a notice process and we'll be able to address all your comments. Get those back in for review.
Okay, I wanna ask you a question.
Yes,
The property that you are proposing to develop. Does it flood there now?
No, the 13 years that I've been on that property, I haven't seen our properties, but
Like your property, the one that you're proposing to
That's
develop? Yeah,
They have full site of the road.
I know, that's one of the, make sure, the one that you're
it
proposing.
has never flooded in my.
Never seen it. Okay.
But it is within the flood.
Yes, we understand that, but I just wanted to know if there was flooding there in here.
So, and then, you know, for a couple legal comments, which I didn't do an issue letter, but. We actually need the EAF with the mapper, like, we did do the tool, but. For secret compliance, EAF with the mapper is, it actually answers the questions for you. And yes, the tool does too, but I don't know if it's the same property, so for that reason. It just, if you could do the EAF mapper before we close secret out, just to check that box. Additionally, if you could do a narrative, I understand your broad, like, I get the full view. But from a legal standpoint, and like, I know Frank is approved the zoning, but just to fully understand. What you're doing, what the process is, how many cars, how many people on site. Like, I know some of it's been answered, but it's, the answers are in different places, so if we can just have. One clear narrative that this is an education center that does X, parking will be provided by X, additional parking will be provided here. We have X number of proposed staff members, no more than 30 people will be on site at a time, things like that, I think that would clarify for the board. And then I read a lot of site plans, and I had trouble understanding. Where I think that the elevation, which the board asked for last time, is, I need an elevation, honestly. When I look at site plans for like 7 different boards to understand, your plans are very hard to read, so I think an elevation is even from my point of view. Building elevation, so building elevation, show what the roof looks like, show where the canopies are, show what the side looks like, this, from a site plan perspective, it's very difficult, and
Yes, it's
both
extreme.
of us struggle, like. Besides the plan, the professional consultants have trouble understanding what you're doing. So I think even from like a legal, just a basic site plan necessity perspective, I don't think you've got the threshold for the board to honestly review your plans. Besides, like conceptually they can, but I think the plans need to be laid out a little clearer, because I honestly have trouble.
we did upload architectural plans, and elevations to the site, they were just in a separate PDF file. From
And I apologize if that's the case, sometimes things get buried and we need to go back. And I'm.
which is okay, understandably, this is not a straightforward design.
Yeah, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the design, I'm just saying it's not clear what you're doing.
But we have since our submission, added some detail to those elevations and present those.
I honestly don't even see them now on the website, so they might have been deleted, or something, because I don't even see them on the.
Not taking them. Did we have to go?
No,
That's something the board probably should ask for partners.
And we wanna include a parking study, so start getting
The parking study where,
study.
a parking study.
Yes.
Well, yeah, well, look,
There's a lot of things have changed there, the way they did the sidewalks, it's taken up like 2 parking spaces. The way they got the scallop is what they want.
Yeah, but the sidewalk ends. Where our property is, so that whole lower part.
When people are attending your event, they're gonna park anywhere they can.
Yeah, we currently have events, just a reminder that the site is already in use, so all of our programs.
You mean the site that you walk across the street is already in use?
No, both sides of the street are currently in use, so
I thought that was just a. It's the.
No, so there's no building on the, so we look on the eastern parcel and western parcel, the western parcel is the riverside river. Planning to build a building.
Yeah.
Currently, there's the community garden and
Yes,
all of our outdoor programming space. So we host after school programs, summer programs outside. During the season that we can be outside. So the bus drops off there, kids spend their days after school, on that side of the street for events. The building will enable us to function year round, to provide more.
people,
Well, more people, but really it's actually more, of a functional space, because right now we're outside, our staff don't have enough space to work on site at the same time. Our programs are limited by weather and such, so being able to provide an indoor facility, throughout the school year will actually enable us to service more time, it's less about more people and more about more.
you said it. With the building, it was like, you're gonna have, accommodations for more people. Than we have now, right? Right now, you have students being dropped off, and you do all outside work, that's what you're talking about.
On that side of the street, right? Yeah, so now we'll be able to have it in something, so it's just, I'm just saying that to say that the site is already happening, parking already happens, bus drop off already happens. We have students coming and going, there's no issue currently with parking. At all, on that part, that part of Park Street is done. Section neighbors, there's quite a lot of space.
All right, but I'm talking services, we're requesting. Actually, how long did you,
So I think. I think, maybe an offline meeting with Christian before you guys resubmit makes sense, and maybe. And I could be there too, I think just offline meetings to kind of get the plans up to a place where the board is ready to review them, so you're not coming back and forth. With a million comments, and then you can work on the parking study at the same time. Might make sense, and then once you resubmit, you just be on the rest of it.
And what's the best way to usually handle that? Would that be a Zoom, a remote meeting?
Or
Or
you can
that,
do a Zoom, or I can come down and meet with, in Crawford's office. Sometimes in person is a little better.
okay,
Is it possible to schedule a public hearing at this point, or
no, sorry. It's just too much not there. Okay. It's gotta be so that we can understand it to a point. Okay. See you guys in. Thank you. .708 State Street, which used to be 65-75 North 7th Street and 602 Washington. The depot to speak. Yeah, you said that. Yeah, I'm looking for my notes, but I said, oh, I remember.
I'm back.
Are you on the payroll or something?
There'll be different ones, yeah. Charles Gottlieb, Land Use Council for the applicant, Gottlieb Initiatives Foundation. We were here at the last board meeting for amendments to the Depot District project, which is under construction. Again, construction's going well, hopefully to close out some point at the end of the summer. Here's the project engineer, Rod Morrison from LRC Group. Again, to refresh your memory, proposed site plan amendments relate to landscaping. And some fencing that Rod will run you through. We're also proposing an additional unit in phase 2 of the project, which is the part that's under construction. So it'll be a total of 64 residential units. And we're also deferring some improvements to phase 3 of the project. for construction coordination purposes. We recently resubmitted just with some clarifying plans, trying to show this board. And it's a difficult thing to do, what was previously approved, what's changing, what does it look like now? The landscaping changes are on both this project site on phase two, but you remember we also had a remote parking area at
Yes.
602 Washington. So we provided a landscape plan for that as well. Rob will show you some fencing we proposed in the back. So there is an existing fence, just an old chain link fence essentially. Part of it is on.
the parking lot now. or
No,
On the building.
So part of that existing chain link fence is on our property, part of it is on the CSX railroad line.
That was the.
So
I
we're
saw it.
proposing
I didn't see it.
some new fencing on our project site, as Robert pointed
And you're
out.
leaving the chain, the other things?
It's not on our property. We also, there was a question at the last meeting about lighting. So we provided the previously approved lighting plans for both the parking lot and this project site. Not changing any lighting, so lighting will stay as previously approved. So I'll hold the plans for Rob, and that's what you said, so we can walk me through the plans.
What our list architect tried to do is color code this sheet, bringing our treatments to remain, so. Bringing colors here, also on the corner. The next shade down, yellow, are plantings that to be or desired to be deleted, that's some areas here around the center circular feature, some other sorted trees on the inside, and then on the axis alley. The third color are trees that move to future phase, that in phase three, which is this area here, that really trims out the streetscape improvements that we proposed for. So it is that simple. The remote parking area, again, there was a really dense line shown in group drawings. Wanted to fit that back, and as Charlie mentioned, we confirmed as well that the lighting is approved, plan to be installed, and that's what we're.
Veronica, you asked the question, ask them.
I did, I wanted to know if any of the planting was purposely planned that way for any sort of privacy or, lighting issues,
I think there had been some thought originally, because we came into the project, Charlie discussed the first concepts, that Walter did, had a pool. There's a pool, originally approved drawings.
That was way back.
All right, because I don't remember that.
No, there's no pool.
Yeah. So that was eliminated, and some of that privacy concern and movement back to the property through property became less important to the oxygen.
So Veronica, I talked to Victoria, who was the original planner. I didn't watch the meeting, so read the minutes, but our notes are very, like, if you look, I literally, this is a like 70-page thing of like all our notes for this entire project, it's very, very detailed. What I came with is that like none of this, what I came to was sound and noise and barrier protection were discussed at length, and privacy regardless of it was discussed at length of that. This landscaping was proposed very early on, so the board didn't impose conditions or get into discussions about how dense the tree line was or anything like that, because it's already proposed, it wasn't something we had issued the applicant to do. So even though it might not have come out that, oh, well, these specific trees were for this purpose. The discussion was had and the trees are already there, so we didn't need to condition additional landscaping to block the noise barrier. So it's not necessarily right to say there was no original purpose. It's just the discussion was had and we didn't have to condition it, but there were noise discussion and buffering discussions. The tree line, especially that railroad tree line, was proposed at very early on.
all being removed.
Yes.
Yes,
And I will say, this is phase one of the project, the brewery. So when we got the approvals for this, there were very detailed, there was.
Yes.
There was
Yeah, we did,
surveillance,
yeah.
So what happened is
And there
that,
was detailed discussions about putting planters.
and then what they did is, when they submitted again, this is what the notice said, correct, so the planning board required. You know, because it's, as you can see, it's really close there, I mean, you could get hit by a train, so it
Yeah.
almost and stuff. So for that reason, for safety and noise, the planning board required planters. When they came back for phase two, they had already had the tree line, probably in response to phase one. So, like I said, there wasn't conditions because it was already proposed by the app. So,
But it sounds like they would have been if they weren't
it
proposed.
could have been, I mean, there was, this record with this particular project is extensive, and planning board spent a lot of time talking about tree lines and noise and sound, and there was very, like, aggressive conversations on this, so I think from my perspective, I think the question for the applicant, what you're asking is, why are you removing this? What's the purpose of the removal? And then B, why are the trees in phase three and instead of phase two, and then for the planning board thought, why does it make sense to move them to phase two? And how long will, I mean, to phase three, and how long will it take for phase three to build? I mean, we're really far along in this project, so I don't know the timing, but still food for thought.
Then that was my question, why are these plantings connected to this phase when they're in this location?
Sure, so a couple things, and we can certainly provide more information as needed. Originally pool here,
Yeah.
that was like the first plan that really didn't go anywhere, we changed
Exactly.
engineers, we changed architects. So forth and so on. So now that this is coming to life back here, we're seeing less of a need for that privacy.
And that is the entrance to the building,
The entrance to the building is in the front.
oh, it's in the front, so
Yeah.
the back area is like,
There, so it's courtyard area that, you know, you can sit around here.
cause I went there and I noticed that there were sparse trees. Right along the railroad track and, I didn't see the fence, but,
There might be trees on the actual.
Yeah,
road.
exactly. and Fisher showed me where there's also a fence there already.
There's a fence, and it actually might be good idea to show where the existing trees are on here,
Yeah.
so that the planning board.
And there's a fence, so show that too, cause there's. both.
Yeah, the fence is on there, so you see the fence, it's right on our property line,
Okay,
and the existing fence goes onto their.
and
property.
where are the trees? They're
That
right
one we
there.
don't have.
Yeah.
Can show.
I thought they were in front of the fence, or in the back of the fence.
They're between the railroad, the tracks and the fence.
Cause when I went by there, I didn't see the fence, but I did see the trees, but then he showed me the fence on there.
Yeah, and so now that, you know, things are under construction, the building's coming to life. The applicant and the owner feel like there's less of a need for noise and privacy, now that they've been on the site for that long. Certainly. That's the planning board's pleasure to ask us to put some back if it wants. What I would say is. This was a very aggressive planting that we first went on, and so the worry from the applicant side was also the longevity of those plantings being so close together. So with that change of engineers that happened, and LRC group and landscape architects came on board. They took a look at that and said the longevity of those plants being so close together.
Sure, but you're removing all.
Yeah, so this is the fence, right?
Fence. Existing fence goes off the property. Close to the falls, that's not.
And you're replacing.
Yeah, we're thinking that we leave it when it's not on our property. We follow the property line, you know, where if it comes together somewhere in here, we. Keep that fence or we.
But it's not a 6 feet
But
fence,
it's not.
it's a 4 feet fence, it's not, yeah, it's like, it's a small
Solid.
fence, yeah. I don't know, is it solid?
The existing fence is a chain link fence.
No, when you're replacing them.
What type of fence are you getting?
I think it's just like a black wrought iron.
It's not
No.
solid.
No, that's not all.
And you're taking out all the trees that would have been planted along it.
That's right.
Yeah, and I would say.
Go take a look.
I would say reiterate, the board spent a lot of time to, I mean, if you look at the records, we almost no one except I think we said maybe.
I was gonna say it.
Board. I mean, the
I had a
record,
lot more hair.
yeah, the record on this is extensive on landscaping. and noise and sound and light, and I think the board spent a lot of time thinking the planting, so I just want this board to be aware. If they're removing it, and maybe it is just because they're too close, but then you wouldn't remove all of them. You know, why aren't they staggered then, the same planting, so I think, I just want you guys to be aware that there's, the last board did not arbitrarily pick to put trees there, it was very. Particularly this project was very, like, at the time. Argued and thought about, and remember, this was their proposal to put the trees back there.
Right.
Board's requirement.
To me, it just seems odd that you would go from having that many trees to having 0 trees with no explanation.
And being that they're coming back, we have the right to review the whole thing.
Yes, yes.
Charlie, I do have a question, the fence, cause I kind of looked at it,
Mhm.
is it originally your fence and just off your property?
I don't believe so, I think it's CSX fence,
Yeah, I
but I
think
can
so,
try
too.
to get the answer to that.
Because they came with plans saying that you have to be a certain amount of feet from CSX when we were doing phase one, right?
That's right.
But you had already built there before we got that determination,
Yeah,
but we also said we wasn't gonna let you do any further. That was,
You
yeah,
guys are allowed also to require a site walk for this one, but for anyone, you can request a site walk, so if you have questions about what this looks like now, pre-planting. This is actually the height of the season, so this is time to go review, but
one caveat, you have to wear hard hats.
that's gonna.
Sure.
Okay.
It's your fence.
It's our.
Yeah.
It's got
No.
no fence, otherwise it would continue.
We're only gonna be looking at the outside, and if
Yes.
you want to, but it, you know, cause I drove by there around, I didn't go on the property, I just drove down here.
Yeah.
The Department of Social Services,
Yeah.
and I was able to see the whole back.
Whether the original or warehouse, where it was built that or not, it's not on your property that it controls.
But we don't have a focus here for this, right?
no, well, actually, the board, in your previous discussion, said there's no.
We had a previous discussion where we did.
So we can go back to the drawing. Hearing the
Right.
consensus, go back to the drawing board, one question is.
Could you show us what's existing
Yeah.
as far as what the railroad has?
Yep. That'd be helpful.
Then what you propose?
Yes.
And the reason. Cause it seems like we all wanna know why you wanna do.
The other question,
Yeah.
trees been planting a long time,
We're there,
along the railroads.
You know, what trees are you planting?
there isn't anything.
What was originally proposed?
The rhododendron,
What?
3 different types of rhododendrons.
Oh, that's right.
You know, so must be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, I thought they were arborvitae's.
No,
So-
rhododendrons.
So if you flip, talking about like around, yeah. So I mean. That to me makes more sense to start planting. I look at that and I think, yeah, that's what it looks like when there's too many trees close together. So what were those proposed? That you're saying against the question?
Those are arborvitae's.
Okay.
They actually make sense to be close together.
Yeah.
They're meant to be,
They're
they're
meant
4
to
feet apart.
Correct.
And you they wanna remove
But
it?
you're removing the line.
Yeah, and then put a fence there instead, you're saying?
No, there's no fence there,
No, you just wanna remove the trees and put a feet
Is
there.
that, this borders. I wanna say the city owned property here, across from the fire station.
Yeah, I went over there too, but it's the other one that goes around, that's where a lot of the trees are.
Typically, when, you know, I work with a lot of planners and landscape architects and other boards, and those kind of trees, like Christian said, are always planted close together. So those are blocking trees, that's a view shed thing.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of those specific trees.
The arborvitae.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we look at what's over here, there's no view that needs to be.
Okay, I mean, for now. Cause it's nothing.
Yeah, if something is to go there and.
Yeah.
You know, this is gonna be just a simple parking lot, we're not looking at a building. So I understand the concern, I mean, if you all share the same concerns as Cassandra, I think I understand it.
Any questions on it?
Yeah, we're done.
Wait a minute, Gene got a question.
The parking lot, that's 602 Washington.
Yep.
It's at the corner of Washington and North Sixth Street. There's a building there, about 50 parking lot. There, it's taking that down.
Yeah,
put the parking lot,
Like that.
Gonna remain right
that
there.
building remains.
so the parking lot going,
Perhaps,
the entrance on the side and that in the back,
there's an entrance beside that garage,
right,
then
yes,
there is no other entrance or exit.
right, and how many parking spaces?
I wanna say there's 40, we have 40, okay.
And 188. Two.
I don't think there would be ADA there only because you can't get ADA access to the building.
Okay, so you're gonna have something in front of the building.
On the street.
That's right, I forgot. So. Okay, any more questions?
Got it.
All right. Hi, Ray. Okay, what do you guys wanna do is. Like, what's it there, or you want to see it on your own?
I would just say, because it seems like it would be beneficial to actually be on the property in this case. And I imagine I can't just walk on the,
No, so it is an active construction zone, so it has to be choreographed pretty well.
Yeah, we want.
What I would almost suggest is if you go to the brewery and go on that back porch and just look left, you're gonna be able to see what you're looking at.
So if we do a site visit, you can meet us at the brewery and take us, you know, take us to
Why is
the
that
back,
here?
take us to the back porch and show us what we're looking at, something like that. right?
But if the planning board wants to do a formal,
Do
like,
you wanna do a formal site plan for 708 State Street?
This is for the screening,
This is
Yeah,
for screening the
that.
trees and, you know,
and you're still asserting that you don't need them?
so we are going to, in our next submission, we're gonna look at to see what screening is on the CXX property
Yes.
line, because we don't show it on the plans.
Right.
And we're also gonna reevaluate what's gonna be on our property. So maybe we resubmit that and that might lower some of the concerns and the need for site
So-
visit.
you rather wait?
if you resubmit that and in the meantime, we go and see how much we can see, then I'm happy to wait on the visit if nobody else is.
Yes.
You wanna visit, okay, yeah, visit, okay, I'm gonna call, who wants to visit
I wanna see, what he resubmits
Okay.
before we visit.
before you visit?
Well, let's go see what it looks like now,
And
and then when he submits it, we have an idea as to what's before and what's after.
So I'm asking, who wants to visit?
I do.
I do. Okay, so we wanna visit. When do we wanna visit?
When he's available.
When are you available? We can.
I can coordinate with
Yeah.
Sandra and Christian or yourself. What I'll say is. You might have to do 2 site visits to keep it under the amount for a public meeting. Cause if you have a quorum of the board
We just
there,
wanna talk to each other.
that works as
We
well.
can do that, Yeah.
I use site visits all the time,
Right.
so as long as I usually.
we know better.
solely is to make sure no harms, no violation.
Yes,
We don't, we don't buy
We
it.
can ask you questions, but we can't talk.
Right, and we know better, we do it all the time. Right. Okay,
Yeah,
so you
coordinate that.
coordinate with us a date and I'll get with that.
And we'll, before the site visit, maybe we'll have the revisions done as well, so we can show you what the plan is.
Good,
I think what would be helpful is maybe a narrative about if, why you're still removing and then maybe when phase 3 timing is. Cause I don't think that was the answer, when phase 3 begins. Cause if it's next month, it's not that big of a deal, if it's 2 years from now, that's 2 years of that screwed, so that's just a thought. It's gonna be anytime soon, I agree, I don't know.
Yeah, we can.
okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, site visit. Thank you. Okay, it's 724-726 Columbia Street here.
I'm here.
Well. You don't need attorney in town.
I don't know, sometimes it feels that way. So it's, again, Charles Godley, Ladies Council for Galvin Initiatives Foundation, here with Joshua Moon, Galvin Initiatives Foundation. Our project engineer, Jen Crawford. Going to be here this evening, so we have, it's been a while, so I just want to refresh everyone's memories. We have proposed renovations to an existing building.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What did you do in there? You had a permit to do work. What was that about?
I'll have Josh explain that.
Okay, I
Um,
remember.
So proposed renovations to the existing building, 726, 724 Columbia Street. And what we're proposing is a theater assembly hall with a kitchen area, and a bar lounge dining area. So this is an existing building. I'm gonna say half the building is the return brewery. The half that we are gonna be renovating is vacant. I think you've all likely driven by the site. We're not doing any additions or changes to the structure of the building. Exterior and interior renovations only. We're not changing the layout. We're not doing any other site work other than within and on the outside walls of the building. Again, to remind you, this is a precursor to the Hudson Forum project. So the Hudson Forum, I think it says community tennis.
Yeah.
Center on the top. Years ago, Galvin was going to renovate that into a theater, but that ended up needing some more financial planning. So what we're going to do as a precursor to that is utilize this space for a theater, assembly hall, restaurant, kitchen area, with the idea that a theater tenant would come in. People could also host events there or banquets there, you know, end of the year sports banquets and so forth. Rent the space out, do whatever they'd like. They have the restaurant, the bar area, right there.
And you gotta have a separate liquor license for that.
So the restaurant, but yes, they would have a liquor license.
So when you say theater, you mean theater, performing theater, or a movie theater?
Performing theater, community. So, there's a total of 9,850 square feet in that vacant space of the building. So in our site plans and architectural drawings, the floor plans that we submitted, that breaks out to 4,925 square feet of theater assembly hall space. 2,100 square feet of bar, lounge, and restaurant space. And roughly 2,825 square feet of kitchen, restrooms, utility rooms, and offices. The board had asked for, not like law offices, although I should probably get an office down here at this point.
So an office mean an
The
office,
fairway,
whoever run it, yeah.
Right, offices to coordinate the operation. Okay. We submitted a project narrative, the board asked us to do that a while ago. The idea is that the restaurant is going to work in tandem with the theater assembly hall space. So if there's a performance, you get a quick bite to eat or a drink during the performance. The hope though is depending on the tenant, that maybe that can be operated independently at some point. If the theater is not there or not, if there's not a theater performance going on, maybe the restaurant use still occurs.
Okay.
Events are expected to be about, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, so meaning that the restaurant will operate normally as a restaurant does, let's say from Tuesday through Saturday.
Mhm.
And then there will be theater performances on Sundays. Possibly the restaurant would open on a day off to accommodate the theater performances, but the restaurant will operate independently.
So really what happens is, after hopefully planning board approval, you go out and you seek tenants. So some tenants might be, no, we just want the restaurant space to coincide and be accessory to the theater. Some tenants might be more amenable to an agreement where it's a separate restaurant tenant and then a theater tenant, and they'll both service the theater, but they could also operate independently. Because theater performances are only expected to be about twice a week.
So you're doing this to be rented to someone else. You're just building the space. Like,
Correct.
I build and they will come.
Yes. It's anticipated, given the size of the building, that there would be about 75 to 150 people that would occupy the theater space, during.
Where will they enter from, that little street?
So that gets us to kind of why it's taken us so long to get here. That here's the. So if you remember correctly,
When they, can you put that up on the board?
They did not submit.
They did not submit?
There's only one sheet for the resubmission page.
there's this sheet that should have been on me before.
Okay, he's gonna put it up on the,
There's also, we had a new survey done, we're looking to do a lot line adjustment, so the entrance will be right here on Long Alley. If we remember correctly, it's a long alley, the city obviously owns Long Alley, the city right of way extends here. The applicant owns this little triangle piece right here. And at the moment, Long Alley throughout history, the exit of Long Alley is right here, over the applicant's property. So the idea was we would do a lot line adjustment with the city. Where this area would be swapped to the city for this area. And we were gonna do improvements here, like landscaping, benches and so forth. Why we haven't been here in a while is because we had to get approval from the common council to do that. To transfer this area to the city and the city transfers this area to the applicant.
Do you have that approval?
So we submitted to the common council, I believe they held a public hearing. We are not hopeful that that is going to happen. It is a legislative decision by the city council. It's up to them whether or not they want to do the land swap. We can only respectfully ask. Certainly it would be nice. This would all be improved with landscaping in a nice little community area near the entrance of the theater. So at the moment, because it doesn't look like that land swap is feasible, we have abandoned the lot line adjustment and these improvements.
Well, why would you abandon if you don't have an answer yet?
Well, I think reading between the lines, we do have an answer that it's
Lines.
the lines of city council meetings. So we've abandoned that, so there's no more lot land swap.
So did you pull your application from the common council?
We have not pulled it, so two things. Okay. One is, we haven't pulled it yet, because it's still active and maybe it takes a long time to get through, maybe it never gets through, we don't know. But what we did do is we will withdraw our lot line adjustment application before the planning board. So because we can't enhance the city property over here, we're no longer proposing that. So the entrance will remain here. Access will be through Long Alley here and then to the curb.
Is there any way, okay, suppose you read through the lines, but you read wrong.
So if in the future a land swap is feasible, and we hope it is, because it really would beautify this area. And would also stop traffic from going on the applicant's property. We would come back for a site plan amendment to that fact. But the applicant doesn't have the appetite to wait. Delay the planning board process while that's getting figured out.
You said it's been 6 months since their last year, that's why we haven't been here, wanting to talk about plans.
No, don't rush on my account, please.
And so another aspect of that, because the lot line adjustment is no longer before this board. We're now a type 2 action under secret. So we're renovating an existing building, not making any changes. Not increasing square footage by 4,000 square feet. The only reason, I think it was the December planning board meeting where Victoria did kind of get me on a legal one, was that it wasn't listed because of the lot line adjustment.
So what was the work being done in there with the permit? You had a permit? Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Okay, you had a permit. So what was the work being done?
I mean, the work that was done in accordance with parameters that come in, essentially some demo work, some improvements to the concrete floor. And once we got to a certain point, we changed the plans, submitted a code enforcement, and that's when we got here. Basically stopped work since then.
They're just putting new windows in, doing some work, they haven't done it. It's never.
Improvements to the envelope, essentially.
I just wanted to know, because I sort of felt like, I ended up straight, he said, it had nothing to do with us.
Okay, so I need you to walk me through the square footage, of what is being done, so walk me, I know you said at the beginning, I apologize.
Sure.
Well, because I'm a seeker, I'm not saying yes or no, but I need to understand for a seeker perspective, we can renotice this. You know, like we can not like change seeker, we can, because you would but I need to hear the square footage. And I have to review why we originally did do this, so walk me through the square footage.
So this shaded area here, this shaded area here, that's the return brewery.
Okay,
This area and down, that's where we are proposing this new use. So it's 4,925 square feet is gonna be the proposed theater space.
okay,
So
so you're over 4,000 square feet.
so if you look at the secret regulations, the secret regulations are new floor area. This is an existing building. So
So if no, reuse of an existing commercial property or building less than 4,000 square feet is what the secret is, and I have it in front of me. So. I can pull it up, but
Here, let me. Yeah, it's,
type two, I apologize, let me pull it up, type two action list, 4,000. And I don't have a candles with me. Involving less than 4,000 square feet of gross floor area and not involving a change in use, that's the exact language from the type.
So if you go to the secret handbook, it provides clarification on that, and we should probably discuss it offline.
Okay.
Because I am wildly confident that this is type.
Okay, because I mean, my notes don't mention the lot line as being increased, that was part of it, but.
It was square footage.
It was the square footage and I was the one that originally flagged it, so I think let's discuss it offline.
Yeah, that's fine, I
Before
can give you
make
guys
more
the support.
recommendation.
I have serious concerns about your main access point being off of the road and new basement and pedestrian safety.
Oh, long Avenue, correct.
That's not safe condition. You're gonna be having greater people, as soon as you walk out the door, you got cars gonna pop. I know Long Island is used a lot, but it is a road.
There's
Yeah.
no sidewalk there,
What's that?
there's no sidewalk.
No, the cars are gonna be going by and the door's gonna be swinging to get people out. It's an accident waiting to happen.
Main entrance is
Wait,
long enough,
it's still off of Long Island Farm.
not over here,
What's that?
not over here. Main access, 20-year site, are these two doors, along right here, outside the sun.
So what we can do is, again, we'll take a closer look at that.
Yeah.
We'll see what mitigation we can do, maybe we can change an entrance.
I would suggest trying to entertain swapping it, so you're coming off of State Street. Rather than coming off of Long Island.
Can you put over here where the entrance is?
Yes, stop pointing, second.
Right. So this is technically Long Alley right here. And this is our applicant's property or the applicant's property. Traffic goes through here. Just throughout history, that's how it's been done.
Traffic really goes through there?
Yeah, there's a curb cut and everything.
You can't actually go on the city property because there's no curb cut where Long Island should be.
Okay. So that's right.
So have you updated your traffic study in accordance with this new plan? Because originally, like you said, it closed off, so did your traffic study review the impact of having people exit? If you can't change it, did your traffic study review the safety of that?
So we did a parking study, not a traffic study. And the parking study essentially, went through, Creighton Manning has that long list of projects that are being built.
You did all of this project?
Yes,
Yeah,
and what we're doing is allocating the on-street parking from the Hudson Forum.
Okay, that's, okay, I understand, because that's what I saw.
said it's a parking spot.
Oh. Traffic, I think they need to look at pedestrian safety.
Yeah, that's
Right,
right.
that's what we were coming to say.
And that's why I'm asking, because like, if that, I understand why you might not have originally submitted it, but
Yep.
now that it's changed.
Yeah, we'll loop it all in.
Can you reacquaint me, you said that, and for this project, how many parking spaces are you allocating?
So this is an existing building on an existing lot, and it's already fully built out, and we're not making the building bigger. We're just using the school, floor area.
Yeah, but you're gonna have 190 people.
Changing the use.
Yes.
Potentially 75 to 150 people, yes,
Right.
and we did a parking study, and so if you remember years ago, we got approvals for the Hudson Forum.
Yes,
And so that allocated available on-street parking. Because that project isn't moving forward at the time, this project is absorbing that available on-street parking.
And what's the number of those spots that you're saying that from, because I don't remember exactly
So
the numbers.
there's West 176 in the surrounding area.
Yeah.
Taking the 800 spaces there.
Yeah,
Can you say that again?
so I'll confirm the numbers, the parking studies in the record. I believe it was around like 75 to 78 were needed for the project. Potentially, worst case scenario, all parking studies are done on what is the absolute worst case scenario? And the parking that was allocated to the Hudson Forum project was about 175.
And it was on street at the municipal parking that's in the.
Yes.
yeah,
Right,
you have to
city
buy
hall, right,
municipal,
behind, yeah.
did you have to get a permit or something? Didn't you?
We calculated available spaces in municipal lots. I believe. We can refresh on the parking study. It's been since November.
So you're right,
last year.
I can't
I
remember.
need you to walk me through this, so the Hudson Forum, and I apologize, I wasn't on the board when the Hudson Forum was approved, so the Hudson Forum. Was never built, is going to be built, the site plan expired,
Well, the city code has no site plan
It's very
expiration
right.
provisions.
yes, that's true.
So they
But-
can build it another time, because they've already approved.
Right, and so it probably was approved, I don't know.
It's been
2
approved
years
yeah,
ago.
and right, so you never really.
So there has been-
Retracted it, so you can build
And
it.
there was a lot line adjustment associated with that, which has expired, the
Yeah.
lot line adjustment.
Oh, that's right.
So that would have to come in for reapproval, simply because since it was approved, circumstances changed drastically in the area.
Well, the reason I ask is because, so I apologize, I'm not familiar with the Hudson Forum project, so bear with me. If the site plan included the off-street parking lot as part of the site plan, and now you're reallocating it for. This project, that site plan and this project cannot be approved concurrently with conflicting features.
No, there's no off-street parking proposed for the Hudson Forum project or this project. It was all a calculation of.
So it's
available
just simply on the, what you're saying is from the parking study standpoint only, not an additional lot from a site plan review.
parking. Correct.
Okay, I just needed to understand.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar if it was conditioned on parking or.
Is there a way that we can see that that hasn't been duplicated? Because we've had a lot of parking studies for parking in that area, and I feel like people are recounting the same spots.
Yeah, so that study was done by Mark Maldini from Creighton Manning,
Okay.
and he's essentially done all the parking studies for a lot of the developments in that area.
Was that study done before the brewery and the depot?
It was.
Brewery and
No, it
the
was
depot?
done after.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
Included 735, I believe,
Okay,
in that.
Okay.
yep,
Well, yeah, recent.
and it included, Pocketbook Factory, it included the Depot District.
okay,
I think it included Little Deb's, even though that hasn't been back in a while.
okay.
Right, where it looked, it didn't include, okay, great. So the seriousness of this is, is pedestrian safety along that. So-called property of the city that could cleans a road, because that's gonna be your entrance, right?
Yeah, and we can look at that, we'll have, our traffic engineer take a look at that, and see if we can't get some mitigation.
Is there any way they can pull that project for the theater, the one on the corner of Seventh and?
Well, as I mentioned, the lot line adjustment that was associated with
You
that.
said that is.
Yes,
We got the 2 extensions that we were allowed under the code for that,
Mhm.
and you're not allowed any more extensions. So we wouldn't be able to file the plat that's associated with that.
So they will never be able, so they'll never be able to get their site plan signed because it was conditioned on the recordation of both the easement and the plat, so that. It hasn't expired, but they will have to come back for amendment
I never stand.
or to reuse the correction.
I
We
never
read
stand
from
the
before.
plan.
Never
For
say.
the forum, so for the
Right.
forum right now,
Yeah, the form.
unless they come back asking for an amendment to it with the condition,
Mhm.
which a lot of people do, it's not uncommon. They have to redo a lot, they'll have to start from fresh for a lot line. That project is now defunct because it's no longer approved. Because
Right.
even though it didn't expire, they never met the conditions and they can't meet the conditions anymore. Because plats expire after 180 days,
So
and that's a
also,
state law.
they can never build on it.
So they can never
Without
build.
coming back to us.
Yeah, so in theory, someone else that could buy that lot, like this site plan could never be built until they come back with a new
Even
plat.
if somebody else buys.
And there's cases out there that talk about, if you don't construct something in a number of years.
Yeah.
And the circumstances around have changed drastically. That has an impact on your approvals.
Correct, yeah, so even though your code doesn't explicitly have a provision, he's right, so. It doesn't expire, but you can't just use, like, someone could come back here 30 years later with a project saying, oh, well, this was approved in 1990, well, your zoning has changed substantially, so. That's, for that reason, and a lot of codes actually have their own internal provisions, so.
Okay.
This code doesn't, but that doesn't mean it automatically can stay for the, like for years, it's not how it works.
Oh, and I have an answer to the secret question.
Okay.
I don't know what the handbook says. So the language of a type 2 action is the construction or expansion of a non-residential structure.
Yep.
Involving less than 4,000 square feet of gross floor area.
Okay,
We are not constructing or expanding. And that's what the handbook says. And again, I'll get you that information.
let's talk offline,
Yeah.
that's more, yes, okay. I'm not necessarily agreeing, but we can talk offline. But regardless, regardless of seeker traffic, because the board is able to review safety, the traffic is still going to be reviewed by this board, whether it's type 2 or not.
Absolutely, and that's the reason for type 2 actions. It's because they realize that the impacts will be reviewed during site plan review process.
Yeah.
And don't have to be through the same
And that,
process.
yes, that was gonna be my argument when if I was asked, that's why you could review it, and your code explicitly allows for safety review.
Okay,
So we have our homework,
you do have your homework,
and
and you have a lot of things you have to answer here. Christian sent you a letter today.
Okay.
Yesterday.
yes,
Dated
okay,
today. Right, and a lot of things are saying, not addressed.
yeah, we will.
And you understand, when you don't address our concerns, it takes longer, and then you blame us.
Get the sense of that.
And we are not being blamed for this. You have to address our
And
concerns.
same thing that we said to the last application we were on, it's easier, come back, it's easier to have offline meetings with the consultants and then come back with a ready plan for the board to weigh in on, and like engineering comments can be handled offline.
Sure, so once we get some mitigation ideas for the pedestrian traffic safety issues in the entrance, maybe we'll have a meeting to discuss everything before we resubmit.
And then you.
Yeah, and I think,
Okay.
I think that makes the most sense and saves everyone.
Just one good question, if you do end up renting it out to two different tenants, are you gonna have to then make provisions for different entrances and things like that?
No,
And
we
then-
only have to, comply with the New York State Building Code as far as emergency access and ingress into and out of the buildings.
Right.
And then square footage areas that are available to each tenant is all just privately done through lease agreements.
Gotcha, okay.
Any more questions? Okay, we'll see you when you,
Do my homework.
yes.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We resubmit an EAF with any proposal.
I will, but we should have that type 2 box first.
But regardless, the EAF would be, yes.
Okay.
Okay, I have coffee, anybody wants coffee? Okay, new business. 21 North Sixth Street, that is,
Environmental assessment.
that's the,
Different and secret.
excuse me.
We'll discuss after this.
Okay, please, excuse me.
Pre-current.
Hello. 21 North Sixth Street, that's the, church on the corner of Sixth and Columbia. Are you here?
If my architect is not here, my name is Stephanie Bryant, I work with Christopher Lindstrom.
Okay.
Thank you for putting us on the agenda today, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
Good, good, happy to be here as we are working to make the building more accessible.
Mhm.
And I understand from Craig Hyde that we well-intentioned put in an ADA lift to make the basement floor more accessible, and that needed to be certainly approved by you.
Well, they were here before, and, I'm gonna put, well, I have none, they were here, maybe
It's
a
been a
year
minute.
ago.
I apologize, I'm looking for my notes on this.
Yeah.
Yes, no, you're
Cassandra's gonna go over the project, they were here before, and they got moved, and now they're back.
Okay, so hold on, let me see my notes on your application. So, alright, so, first one. Okay, so you adopted a resolution in 2023, and that was a restaurant open to the public, so. My notes for your new submission is, I have absolutely no idea what you wanna do, because you didn't include a narrative or a clear. You didn't include like existing conditions and a new, like, you did do like a full application, but you didn't do like a cover letter, and then. The only indication that you wanted to add an event space was your actual EAF. So I'm not saying yes or no, but how good your submission was, I just couldn't figure out what you were changing, because I wasn't the original attorney. Victoria did the original one, so I compared your plans and I didn't see that much of a difference, so I guess if you could walk us through the changes, I think that'd be helpful.
Did Craig have a letter on that?
Craig, I think, has a letter about the elevator, right? Is that's all I saw, so I think it would be helpful for the board
If you put.
to say what you were originally approved for now, and then what are you changing? And then I think just for perception, because I honestly, I didn't spend a lot of time, I just really looked.
For those of you that may not know the location, it is the big building on the corner of Sixth Street and Columbia. It was a church, and what is it now? It's a restaurant?
No, we are looking to build a community events space.
You already had approval to do that. Right,
That was the original application, was
Yeah.
to change from residential to commercial.
Yeah.
That had a very small cafe in the basement
Right.
with an event space
Yes,
above, so.
And that cafe was always open to the public, no?
so what do you
Please.
change then?
Oh, we wanted to make the basement floor more accessible, so we put in an ADA lift on the Columbia side street to access to the basement.
That's why I saw no difference between the plans.
Oh, right, that's all I wanted.
Yeah, so that never existed, because our idea was we would service the public on the street vestibule street way, but we just really wanted to make the basement accessible as well.
So, so guys, this is a type 2 action.
Yeah.
A public hearing is not required, but of course you can. I don't think this needs to be referred to county planning, and I don't think I need to review it. I spent like 5 minutes looking at it, trying to figure it out. So if you,
Well, Craig did write a letter on it, and I think you should review
I
it.
reviewed the letter, yeah, but I couldn't figure out what the total, he just talked about the elevator, but I couldn't see what the other plans were. So I think,
So she didn't write, she's gonna write a narrative like that.
well, no, she can, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's what we would like, a narrative like you asked.
Whatever you need, I will.
And then we'll get a chance to look at it again, and then you can come back, okay?
That's wonderful, thank you so much. So
Did you-
just, oh, I'm sorry.
Did you upload this recently to Munich Lab?
I did not. It was my understanding, and I could be misinformed as I'm not the architect on this project. That there was a conversation between our architect and Craig. That this matter would be addressed to ensure that everything was on the up and up with what we're doing.
Okay, so have him upload the plans.
Have Craig?
No, not Craig,
Excuse me.
your architect.
The architect,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry,
And the narrative,
perfect.
yeah,
That's all that should be needed.
yeah,
That's great, thank you so much.
all right. And we'll
sorry.
see you probably next month,
I'm excited to see you again.
okay?
No, this building is gonna get finished.
Someone ever said that. I wanted to be on the record, she's excited.
I'm very excited. So forgive my ignorance, maybe you repeat yourself. A narrative and the change of plans.
Yes.
Yeah, the site- yeah, the-
Site plans,
You
what you're doing.
need an existing condition, there just needs to be 2 pages, an existing condition sheet and a proposed condition sheet, I think would be the easiest.
Is the ADA left completely inside the building?
No, it is on the outside.
It's not outside, yeah, so that's part of the reason I couldn't figure it out, so just do an existing, and that will fix everything, and it's a very easy project, so.
Thank you so much. So existing conditions on premises and changing.
And we don't have to submit anything to county
No,
for
I
review,
mean-
because they're about
County's
100 feet away.
right
So,
next to it.
This is such a, so county doesn't review minor site plan changes.
Okay.
You are absolutely in your right to submit to county if you would like.
Well, we just had that training,
Exactly, that's what
so
I'm talking
let's
about.
submit it.
Okay, so
Yeah, no, they just said that's.
It
it's
went
better-
in doubt.
So
So it's in doubt. So
Right.
I had a call with,
When in doubt, submit it.
I did have a call on a different project with the commissioner. The person who looks at the site plans of the county planning board, for Columbia County, and she said if it's really minor, use your discretion, use attorney discretion.
Yeah.
That being said, feel free to motion to submit this to
I want a
county.
motion, we want to submit it.
Remember that those are always, the county has at any time. That never expires the need for county referral, as you all know, so if you, when in doubt, you can't spend.
Yeah, well, we just had the training, it says better submit it than not to submit it,
Right.
and they have something to say.
Yeah, because then it's, if they don't say something within
Yeah.
30 days.
And what is it to submit it?
Nothing. you just
Okay,
have
so
to
let's do
motion.
it. Oh, can I get a
But-
motion to submit to?
Well, can I ask you a question?
Yeah. Of
course.
If they don't say something within 30 days, then we're fine, but that means that this application can't come back.
No, they'll.
So also, so I don't know how long the meeting is out. What you can also do is, Dutchess has this, I don't think Columbia does, but you can just call. You can expedite something so small like this, you'll get
Right.
probably comments back in 10 days.
I mean, but when are we gonna submit it, tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, if
Yeah,
you're gonna.
because it's all
If you-
Municol, but you have to upload all the documentation.
Yeah, we don't even have it that, yeah.
For which site?
Municol lab. If you call the
Municol
office
Lab.
tomorrow,
No, don't call, just go online.
She already submitted everything I need to fill out, so.
I don't see
No,
that.
not the.
I mean, it's something, but not.
No, guys, she didn't have a narrative, like, it's not prepared yet. So everything she had is on Unicode Lab. But she just hasn't prepared a narrative yet.
Gotcha.
So
So,
I reviewed the plan, I just couldn't figure out what she was doing because there was no narrative.
but.
And I thought she was changing to an event space, I was very confused, but
So
I couldn't,
you're saying she doesn't have to upload what you're asking?
I mean, I don't require it, but if the board requires it, and Teresa has asked for
Well,
it.
that would
so-
be, that's what we would share.
Exactly, so I'm
Yeah.
just saying that seems hard to
Yeah.
all happen within.
It'll all happen and we'll get it all back before you, before next month. We never have a delay on that, okay?
Fantastic.
Can I get a motion for the submittal to the county?
I make a motion.
I second.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay.
I see that.
All right, see you next month.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it. Okay. 60 South Front Street. That should be easy.
Hi, good evening, Shaq Stanley here, representing South Front Street Holdings.
Mhm.
We're back again, just seeking an amendment to the previously approved site plan from a couple of months ago. And that was a change of use of the second floor from an office space to extend the restaurant area to the second floor. Based on some discussions that happened and some discussions that we had internally, we found that it makes sense to add ADA accessibility to the second floor as well. In the hopes that we could have some private separate events that can occur while the restaurant on the first floor remains open. So that will include a exterior lift, ADA accessible bathroom, so modifications to the bathroom on the second floor, and a little bit of ramp into the second floor.
So the lift is gonna be on the outside of
The lift will be on the outside, correct?
We need to know what that looks like.
I have photos of it. We did go through the historical review and they approved this.
But do we have any information on what it looks like?
Well, they added it to the site plan.
Is this functional, is this planned to be functional all year round, it's like an all weather?
It's an all weather, it can have a cover, so it can work all season.
Did you submit it to us? Cause if you can, we could pull it out.
I just have it on a plan, but this is basically what it would look like. It's an exterior.
Could you submit that to Muni Clap so we can?
Yeah, this can be uploaded as well.
Can I see?
Um,
We just
Yeah,
have
that's
the,
right, that's right.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Is it similar to what it's like inside of the house?
So they have to
Sit in
build that
chair and
house,
use-
right?
It has a platform that you can wheel a lift on, or you can stand on, and you can, basically go up. It has a door to access. This one will not have a roof over the top, but it has a top that can be added to it.
Okay.
So this is this the actual picture or?
That
minus the
is
roof?
exactly, yeah, minus the roof, that is what it would look like. It does have an enclosure going up. It's just a basic kind of a lift that you'd see just inside where it's 54 by 36-inch platform.
Is it self-manned, meaning the person in the wheelchair can?
Yes, there's a button that you can press on the inside. There's a door that opens it. You can wheel yourself in.
Can you take a second, go outside to the left, there's a lift there.
I don't think it's that open.
That's pretty much exactly what it will
But
look
it's
like.
gonna, but it's gonna be on the outside.
It'll be on the outside of the building and it'll have an elevator shaft basically that goes up to the second floor, so it is enclosed all the way up.
And what side of the building is it gonna be on?
This will be on the,
Front street?
so if you're from Front Street, it'll be between the caboose, the
Okay.
building, as you go back. I don't know if you remember where we put our.
Yeah, the caboose in the liquor store, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, so it will be behind the new stairs that we just put in.
But I don't think for like maintenance, leaves, snow, that you'd wanna cover.
It has a cover, but it's a removable cover, so the lift can come with a full enclosure.
But
Will it be you're asking, Randall, will it be closed?
It will be, when there's an event happening, this will be opened.
you're saying when there's an event, you would, well, the top of the exterior. Handicap lift, will it have a top?
It will not have a top to it, no, that's not the current plan is to not have a top.
So how do you, so when there's snow and leaves and rain, like how do you deal with that?
It has a kind of, it has a removable cover that would be over the top of it.
Maybe I'm missing something. I'm asking, does it have a cover? And you said no, but it has a removable.
It does not have a permanent cover that will remain on it, like in that photo where it has a roof over the top of
Right,
it.
yeah.
So it has a cover, but it will not stay on there that it's fully, because this will only be used during an event that happens there, or during anything that happens on the second floor.
So you will take off the cover if it is to be used, otherwise it will remain covered.
That's the current plan, correct.
And the shaft,
Oh, this is in the back.
Yeah, the opposite of what you said.
the shaft is,
They will put a cover on
it's
during events, like a canvas cover, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah,
In the back.
yeah.
And then when there are no events, they'll just take the canvas cover off and store it.
the shaft itself holding the unit is open air, there's no. It's not
No,
like
it's
an elevator.
it's a plexiglass.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Alright,
this is the second.
so it is covered there. Yeah, so it is.
On the side, it's got the top.
No, on the side, yeah.
Yeah, so this is. The cover that they're showing on here is glass,
Yeah,
instead of having a glass cover, it's probably gonna have a canvas top.
Yeah, flexible, okay.
That they can take off during when it's not getting used. And then when they're gonna use it for event, they'll put the canvas cover on, correct?
It'd be the opposite.
The opposite.
It'd be-
yeah.
It is, the only access into that building, to that second floor, there is no interior access, so we're not forcing people to go outside, you know, if you're ADA, if you need to use that lift, you're not forced to go outside. Everybody is forced to go outside because there is no other way into that building. What I'm saying is that it would basically be the same. We didn't want the lift to be on there permanently with the roof because of the added height and how it would look when we don't have an event.
Okay.
That was our main purpose for not wanting to have a roof on there, because then it will stick far above where the deck handrail is. Without the roof, it lines up with the handrail of the second floor deck, that's out there.
And what about lighting back there?
There are exterior sconces on the deck, and there will be additional lighting that is included with this.
Right.
As part of the ADA accessibility, there will be lights as you come off and as you go on.
So when the wheelchair rides, it only can ride by itself, how about someone that needs assistance, will it be room for someone else to be there?
It's a 54 by 36, I believe, I have the shop drawings, but it's kind of similar to what you have out there, so you can step on it and operate it without a wheelchair.
No, I mean, you know, some people need assistance in their wheelchair, they can't do anything. So is it big enough for a person and a wheelchair? With a person in it?
I believe so, I mean, a wheelchair is, I think, you know, about most 3 feet, and you have 54 inches, so you have an extra 1.5 feet. For a person to stand if they.
It's standard for, that's a
It's-
standard.
Yeah, it's a standard, it's ADA compliant, so it's compliant with the ADA.
So it's big enough for assistance if needed. Yeah. Any more questions? Okay, we have a resolution, we don't have, because they came back, we do have a right to review everything anytime they come back. But they were just here. You know, I hadn't even got a chance to endorse this site plan because they decided to do something different. So it's like they just here, what, a month ago or something?
Like it was 2-3 months ago.
Yeah. So I have a resolution to grant their amendment to the site plan. Are we ready to vote on that tonight?
We're kind of
Okay.
with that.
Could I get a motion?
Take a motion.
Okay, second. Do I have to call each one?
We could, I think, all in favor, we could do.
Yeah, big one first.
I'm in agreement, I don't have a problem with it.
Aye.
Aye.
Nine.
Right.
So, who seconded?
I did.
Who first?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And this time I'll plug with, then, you know, you have to come back to the plans. So I can endorse them.
Yes.
Don't
right
don't go to Craig without.
Can I leave them here?
Yeah. Okay. And what we'll do, once they're endorsed, we'll take them to Craig and you'll be able to pick them up, right?
Yes.
Or you can make that.
Is this gonna be something that's gonna be in place this year?
Yes.
Oh, so next year.
This will be in place.
It is, your approval is conditioned on payment of fees and escrow.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We have an open escrow, for South Front Street Holdings.
Oh, and I don't think it'll be an issue, it just, it will be, and it will be endorsed until all the bills come in, so.
That's fine. I wanted to go check.
I think they
the
have
treasury to see where we're at.
Okay, I'm not saying, suggesting you need more money, I just wanted to let you know, it'll be.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Okay, you may have to pay escrow, because after tonight they'll have 8:45.
So, I mean, I did not spend long reviewing this, and I don't think Christian,
spend any time.
I think I spent like maybe
We'll let you know if you don't.
20 minutes.
Yeah, and I'll review with the treasury and see if we have to do any, make any.
Well, we have to wait until, to make sure your bills
I'm
come in
not
for
doing
that.
anything.
I'm billing very minimal.
So the bills that came in, this month, for last month, we won't see any more from them. for-
No, you'll see a bill this month, because I
Right.
have to.
Okay, so we're gonna wait till their bill comes in,
That's
and
fine.
then I'll be able to endorse the.
And you paid an amended application fee?
I have not, I think I just assumed that it was, under the escrow, because the
No.
escrow from our first one was under
So
1,000.
there's escrow and then there's fees, so
Okay.
this is technically an amendment, so there's an amended fee.
I'll bring in a fee tomorrow.
Okay.
How much is it?
I have no idea, because
300, I believe it is.
300, 325. 325.
Yeah, it's on the application.
Please, okay, pay that too.
But I'll bring that in.
and I could try to get a final bill, we're done after today, so I'll try to rush, like I said, minimal, so.
Wait, Gene knows. well.
You keep going.
Okay, so I won't endorse any plans until after that, okay?
That's fine.
And you can't go to Craig until we endorse the plans.
I'll wait.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, anybody wanna go to the bathroom or something, so we're going into, other this.
You want me to mute the, what's your 5 minute break?
Yeah, we can do a family. I got coffee for everybody and everything. We're taking a 5-minute break before we go to other business. I don't have any.
I thought it was supposed to, do not have an amendment, please?
No, you don't.
Yes, sir. I apologize, I don't know,
That's you, many too.
that's a lot, like, Jason.
It's two-sided.
Oh, it's a new site plan application, so it's $3. Can
Oh,
you,
you?
can you mute this, Randall?
I am. Now it's back.
Okay. We're back in session of planning board. For the, June 11th meeting. Okay, now we're in other business and I wanna, do we have any committee reports, Randall, you on the IDA?
Yes. Not at this time.
Okay, and you guys you do for the, well, Victoria does for the, historic.
Well-
Do you wanna report to us?
HBC has approved 60, like the 65 budget. I don't think we can really get a committee report.
I'm asking them.
Yeah. I do not have one.
Okay. Okay, so tonight I wanna discuss something about the planning board. We're diligently reviewing the public comments we've received on the Calaruso dock application. And therefore Calaruso was not placed on the agenda for tonight. You all saw that, right? But I wanna also discuss the fact that the mayor has proposed to hold a meeting of stakeholders to see if there is an agreement between the applicant and the concerned residents on potential conditions for the continued operation of Calaruso on the dock. Okay, so the planning board has been asked to participate in this process. And we can only have up to 3 members, and I've had something like 1, 2, 3, 4 people, plus myself, because I'm going, say that they are interested. So with that being said, I went over the agenda for the planning board members that have been on the planning board for the longest period of time and have had the most involvement in the project. And that comes out to be Jean and Randall. What you guys say, no?
Now, the mayor is forming a committee
Right,
to review the public comments or to come up with new comments.
no, the review comments that have been submitted by the public, not just the mayor. It's gonna be comprised of, I can't tell you all who's on it, but it's gonna be the mayor, the stakeholder groups.
And when these meetings are conducted and business is conducted, is this committee going to mandate or suggest?
Suggest.
No.
Recommend, suggest, no mandation. We, by right, we will continue to do our own review of Calaruso as a planning board. But to just be in cooperation with what our mayor is asking, trying to do, we will take their recommendations into consideration too. And their recommendations will be coming from public concerns,
Which we already
what
have.
we already have, that ended on the 30th of May. And right now, we haven't consolidated them all, but our attorney will be consolidating them, putting them together and bringing them to us. And this committee is going to be doing the same thing. So it's like a corporation of the planning board, of the stakeholders in the city, and what is it? It's not taking anything from us. It's just joining us. Collaboration.
Does somebody think that this planning board can make their own decisions, that we have to have an outsider, a politician involved in the process? You're inputting politics into the planning board, which is a separate entity and should be from government.
And it will be, but because it's not just the government, it's not just the elected officials. I think it's gonna be mostly comprised of stakeholders,
Stakeholders like who?
business people in the community. I'm not sure of all who it was. I think we're gonna have a meeting on Friday and we'll know better as to who's gonna be there.
As I understand it. It is all voluntary and nothing that they say, nothing that's at those meetings is binding upon the planning board
Exactly.
Right.
whatsoever.
So what's the sense of having another committee? To discuss what we've already discussed for the last.
But this is the mayor's committee. We're gonna have we're gonna do our own discussion, but this is the mayor who's asked us to attend, participate.
Is it a committee or is it a meeting among certain stakeholders,
It's a meeting
including
among-
Paulo Russo?
Right.
To try
Yeah.
to negotiate maybe amongst themselves some conditions?
Maybe come up with some recommendations for the planning board or recommendations, to negotiate.
It's an attempt by the mayor to bring the parties together
In
in
a sense, yes.
conversation. And they just want us present as witnesses, or will we be or whoever goes, be participating?
Well, we're gonna have our first meeting Friday, so we're planning just to attend to see which way it would go. I don't wanna answer that because I can't.
Understood. So
Okay.
there will be, this is just the first of many
Exactly.
potential meetings.
Right. If I had it in my own words, I would call it a brainstorming meeting, or something like that, but
And can I ask, in light of that, or can I put forth a motion? It seems that the public hearing should be reopened if there's going to be.
there's not gonna be no more. They're gonna go on what the public has already submitted, which closed on the 30th of May.
Can I put forth a motion to reopen the public hearing if now private meetings are going to be happening? It seems, I would like to put forth a motion to reopen the public hearing if private meetings are going to be happening.
Okay, so I think. To clarify, okay. This is I'm not saying you can't, but I just wanna clarify, cause there's a couple questions going around. This is a voluntary thing that the mayor is doing that's completely unrelated to the planning board process. So the mayor has formed a separate committee and has brought Paulo Russo to the table to propose recommendations that are non-binding on the planning board. That being said, if Colarusso comes with a new submission, the planning board by law has to review it in their timeline. Only the applicant can waive the right to have their submittal, can waive the right to not have their submittal reviewed if they put on time. Your law requires you to review the applications and to follow the timing within the zoning law. The mayor does not have the right to waive that authority. The planning board doesn't have the right to waive that authority. Only the applicant.
But then, hasn't the applicant waived that?
Yes, the applicant has waived that. They have not submitted something new. But for that reason, it's not the same as a public hearing. A public hearing is by the planning board, conducted by the planning board. It's under the zoning law. Public hearings are defined as a certain type of hearing which allows the public to talk about zoning matters on a specific project with the applicant present. That is not what this is. So, technically, they'll be part of the record, but they're not even gonna be truly public hearing records. It'll be part of the record because it will be submitted by the applicant to the planning board.
I understand, I just think given how passionate, how emotional the public has been about this subject, what a big deal it is, how many comments we've received. The idea that the public hearing was closed and then a sort of private discussion begins. I feel that
What do you mean by a private discussion began?
well, Friday is the first of what sounds like potentially many meetings that are going to be happening in private between stakeholders, Colarusso, and certain members of the planning board, right?
And you're right.
Right. So I'm putting forth a motion to reopen the public hearing in light of this.
Well, can I say something? Maybe I can clarify, or maybe I'm misunderstanding. What I'm hearing is that this is not a planning board thing.
Right.
This is a thing that has been initiated by, the planning board has made whether all members have agreed or not, have made, the majority did indicate that the public hearing was closed.
Right.
Okay, so it sounds like it's the mayor who said, okay, I'm hearing the outcry, let's just put it that way, of individuals within the community that still had concerns about this.
No, but there are no new concerns. They're taking what has already.
Right, but let me finish, please. Okay, so, and then based on that, and then we can see if we can correct me and clarify me a little bit more. Okay, and so then based on that, he decided to form some kind of, it sounds like a task force. To sort of say, okay, we've got all these comments that have come in from the public in written form. Now we're gonna sit down, and all the stakeholders, whether they're business people, but they're also community residents. And I'm going to take some people from here that have presented and had concerns. I'm gonna take some members of the board, and we're all gonna sit around a table, or wherever we're gonna sit around. And, and just talk about, or brainstorm, if that's the word we wanna use, what else can be done? What else can be done? And then they formulate ideas, and I'm assuming that's without board bringing their lawyers and without everybody else bringing their other individuals, because it doesn't sound like it's a legal binding thing. And then from there, it sounds like if things are arrived at, then Calarusa will come back, if possible, to this planning committee and say, okay, here's a new proposal we came up with, or here's some new ideas we came up based on this meeting that we had, whatever the series of meetings it required, whether it was 1 or 2 or 3 meetings. Am I off? Am I not understanding somewhat of the process? Go ahead.
Well, okay, so that is my understanding as well, except for the attorney part. I'm not sure whether or not we'll be involved. There's some question on who's being represented. Calarusa would like their attorney there and.
They have a right to.
And they have a right to, Victoria might attend depending on whether or not applicants bring their attorney, so I think there's conversations back and forth on that. I agree with you, I don't necessarily think we might. It's fine for us to be involved, it's fine for us not to be involved, I have no preference either way. But I do wanna address something that you brought up a little more. You guys are required to have an open discussion on these conditions. The next meeting that Calarusa is on needs to be an open board discussion on what each of you thought of the comments. And if they're ready and there's a list from the mayor, that's great, and you can go over that as a group, and maybe Calarusa has conceded some things as part of that task force. But if they decide this task force isn't for us and they submit by themselves, you're going to have to review it, you're going to have an open discussion. So I think, regardless of what this task force does, an open discussion by the planning board is needed, and this does not in any way affect what you're going to do as a board, other than the fact you'll have a nice consolidated list, and maybe Calarusa will have already agreed to some things, and that would be great for the board, and that would actually help the public concerns. But also, we don't know who's in the task force, and you have to consider all the public. So if, and we don't know which neighbors were involved, so you shouldn't just review just the task force, you need to review all the comments, you need to look at all the neighbors and all this, not just the stakeholders. So I think, you don't wanna just fall into that list as well.
And I do have a letter here that I wanna send to the mayor. And let me read it first. And this is what I wrote the motion on. To our Honorable Mayor Johnson, the planning board has received your invitation to a meeting of stakeholders to be scheduled for Friday, June 13th, 2025, to discuss the project. The planning board has held a public hearing on the project and is in the process of reviewing comments. In the spirit of cooperation, which is why up to 3 members of the planning board will voluntarily attend the meeting. However, any recommendations or potential conditions resulting from the meeting will not be binding on the planning board, and all deliberations of the planning board regarding potential conditions must take place during an open meeting of the planning board. We note that the planning board is obligated to continue to review the project during the pendency of the stakeholders' work. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, I know you may want to open and, by right, we can do the forum, but it is not a need for that because we're just addressing what has already been submitted. We're not, no. Sit down, lady.
Don't worry, Sarah, don't worry, I won't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
There was
Yes.
one
You
public,
can make a
there was
motion.
one public hearing recently, right? The last one was the one and only public hearing in recent months. Is that right? In recent years, even? The last big public hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming in at, at this point, right after that public hearing, given what I've been reviewing and what I heard, there was a lot of noise about keeping the public hearing open. It was voted on and it was closed. The idea, that community and citizen engagement is part of this process. The idea that the public hearing would be closed and then a sort of private task force to discuss conditions would, open.
That has no bearing.
I'm just talking about the way that the community will feel about a group of private citizens who are very powerful in the community, I would imagine, if they are stakeholders, meeting privately with Paula Russo and attorneys and members of the planning board when their public hearing has been shut down. I don't think that is going to sit well with the public, and I feel that there's a sort of private hearing happening ongoing. It sounds like we should reopen the public hearing. So can I just put forth that motion?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay.
No,
Wait,
still, this task force or whatever you wanna call it, they'll have a meeting, get together, come up with maybe a solution with Carl Russo's. We as the planning board have to do it in public. A private meeting, I don't see it as a private meeting. Are these meetings going to be open to the public, or is there gonna be a record of it? Is it gonna be provided to the public? How is this meeting gonna be held?
we'll probably find out when we get there, I don't know.
So Friday's meeting is just a get together to come up with some guidelines for continuation of other meetings and business, I would hope.
We'll see.
You know what I'm
Can I
saying?
just ask a quick
I
question?
mean, it's not an open public meeting, it's not subject to the open meeting law. You are subject to the open meeting law.
When
The
we
mayor is not for his own task force, that's why only three
the
of them
mayor attached,
because it's not an open meeting, so only 3 of you can attend, because you can't have a quorum.
and we don't know how it's gonna take place.
Cassandra, can I ask this?
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons of opening the public?
So the
Yeah.
pros, I mean, so let's take
Legal.
let's take the task force out of it, okay, let's just talk about Gabby's concerns with the public, which, she's absolutely right, you heard that on the record that a lot of people had it. I think pros and cons, I mean, it's whether or not you really think you're going to hear anything different. And it's whether or not you think the public is going to have different comments than they've had for the past, I don't know, 7 years, this project is gonna be.
Yeah, they were submitting comments even, I think, before the public hearing. Submitting comments.
I mean,
They were
that's the
submitting
purpose,
comments
is-
way before the public hearing.
The purpose of a public hearing is to make sure comments from the public are heard and considered by the board. If you really think that you're going to get different comments, which you can, the public hearing was reopened for this. It actually opened all the way back, I think in 2018.
Right, we voted to have another public hearing, remember, when we didn't have to.
I had the dates, my computer died, so I can't look at the exact dates, but I think it's 2018 was the original public hearing. And then it was noticed with the dock, and then the Hall Road was with it at the same time, and then we had separate Hall Road hearings, and then we had a separate dock hearing. So that's kind of the chain of events that have happened. So the pros would be, if you think you're gonna get more comments, that's another way to limit conditions. The cons would be, the cons really would just be, if you're ready to move forward with an open discussion, then it's just a way to slow down the process. But if you think you're right, it's just more comments for you to think about. And if you're ready after looking at a 7-year record to start having open discussions on the record, then there's no need for another public hearing. It's really up to the board.
But there's no legal impediment to doing it, there's no legal jeopardy.
No, there's no legal jeopardy. There is no timeline right now. Special permits do not require site plan in Hudson, so you guys are not on a 62-day deadline. You guys, there's really no, you can't, the court has said you can't stall this, for example, but as long as you have a valid reason for reopening the public hearing, because the court has said, henceforth, you must make a decision, I would caution the board to think about whether or not you're going to get different comments. So you can't keep the public hearing open for 6 months because the public's just going to keep commenting, but if you really think you're going to get different comments, then yeah, you can reopen the public.
And most of the comments that were given on that day, I don't know if you guys got them, but a lot of them have been written in. I can almost identify the person when they came up.
But there's
Like,
no,
oh, I read that one.
but there's no breach of process. That's what I'm concerned about from the planning board.
No,
The
there's,
opening doesn't form of breach of process.
No, there's no breach of process. The only thing I would caution is there is 2 Article 78s on this that the planning board has not won. We have lost. And for that, to Colarusso, and the court has sided with Colarusso, saying that, you know, that this process has taken a very long time. And to come together with, you know, with a reasonable time to review the application. They're not saying you can't review the application. I'm not saying rush the process. I'm just saying you have to have a valid reason to reopen the hearing. And if-
Sorry,
No, go ahead, Gabby. If you think there is a reason, I'm not saying there is or isn't, there's no legal obligation to or not to reopen it. If you really think that you're gonna get different comments, that's fine. You can
Well,
reopen the public hearing.
but we're not starting the open discussion part yet because
No.
of this mayor's task force,
No,
right?
we're not starting it because we haven't
Because-
consolidated. Right.
And because Colarusso has voluntarily,
Right.
currently said they will hold off on the open discussion. That might not be true in a month. I mean, I don't know what the applicant's.
So
gonna
we're
do.
not slowing it down if we reopen the public hearing because it's not moving forward at the moment.
As long as you have a valid reason, which I'm not saying you do or don't, the validity is up to the board. As long as you feel you have a valid reason, then yes, you can reopen the public hearing.
I feel that the outcry from the community to keep the hearing open will, in light of this new private task force that is going to be meeting in an ongoing fashion, I feel it's only fair for the community's discussion to also be ongoing.
Okay, so do you wanna?
I want to put forth a motion to reopen the.
Is there anybody second it?
Oh, second.
Can I ask a question
Go ahead.
first? So obviously, after this meeting, this is gonna hit Hudson News, right?
Mhm.
That this is happening, right?
Mhm.
And I think a lot of what Gabby is saying is 100% valid. I mean, when people hear this, their heads are gonna explode, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, if we don't at this point bring the public back in, and there is a ton of backlash, which unfortunately, I think that this is going to create. How do we handle it from there?
From a legal perspective?
Just, and from any perspective, the planning boards, the legal, I mean, do we just,
No.
do we just ignore that chatter? Do we address it? Like,
And-
what exactly?
Okay, in my opinion, because I've been here since I came on the board in 2020.
Mhm.
It's basically a lot of the same. But you guys wasn't here, I was, and it's basically a lot of the same. Jean was here in 2022.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been on the planning board 3 different times.
yes,
And Colarusso was the topic of my last 2 terms. And the meeting with the mayor, or the mayor's meeting, task force or whatever, is get the parties together and try and come up with a resolution, so we can close this out one way or another. That's how I see it.
This letter that Ken.
wait, no.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were finished, excuse me.
Kelly, Kelly, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I mean, as far as, I mean, I do, I do concede, I definitely can see the validity of it, in the sentiments expressed as far as the optics are concerned. But as far as this, meeting, I mean, the legal representation, is there gonna be any sort of like legal oversight to make sure that there's not any sort of, that you're not discussing in bad faith in terms of people trying to bring up new ground that's not already been.
You're talking about the meeting.
Yeah, the mayor's meeting, because I think that's gonna be the public's concern, is that, okay, they're gonna be introducing new things that are not.
I'm sure that's why Carlos is bringing his attorney to make sure that no new stuff is being brought up,
Yeah.
because he has a right to bring, and he will.
And is the meeting gonna be for, but is it gonna be subject to the freedom of information law, is there gonna be?
I'm not sure.
I think. If you wanna discuss legal concerns regarding the meeting, I really want to suggest, because it'd be legal advice, you really have to go into attorney-client. I'm not suggesting that we do that, I'm just saying if you're gonna start asking legality questions, I would prefer that to be an attorney-client before I do legal, like solid legal advice. What you guys decide to do, I have no stake in it, if you wanna do it, if you don't wanna do it,
So I feel like we're commingling 2 different issues at this point.
you are, and that's why.
And that's the point. She made a motion, I seconded it.
But if you wanna get more feedback before you vote, just let me, like, I would wanna move into attorney-client, that's.
There's something you should probably think about before you vote on
Right.
that measure.
Okay, so, would you
Can I
like
say
to
one more
move
thing?
into attorney client and so we can answer the question?
Okay, but can I just say one more thing before
Yes.
we move on to that? Which is, this is a question I have about this letter that Ken Dow sent on May 30th.
Who's been that?
He's the former attorney for the city of Hudson, and he's sent us a lot of information.
Join the, council.
Yes, he was the former.
What year? Because it was in 2020.
No,
No, prior to that.
Oh, back then, okay, 2017.
He has
No,
not
you're right.
Yeah, just have any question?
No, this isn't the legal question.
Okay,
This
so
is a
from
question-
2017.
Well, he just sent us a letter on May 30th. Yeah, discussing this, the conditional use with. This, I'm gonna just read from his letter to make it clear. The conditional use that may be approved is limited to permitting dock operations to be carried on as such existed in 2011. So this, I haven't yet gone through all of the comments, but I was going through the comments and listening to them. I hadn't come upon this yet.
It's a legal question,
Legal
I would
question.
prefer to do it in attorney client.
Yes.
Okay, oh wait, I'm not sure if it is a legal
It
question.
is.
It is.
It is.
It is a legal
It's been
question.
asked.
Well,
By another board member.
Yeah.
I would prefer to do it in attorney client.
Okay,
That question you about it has been asked and they
Yes.
still deliver it.
It's a legal question. I can tell you why, but I can't.
oh, can I just ask my question? I
Okay.
just wanna know if the public, cause I was only made aware of this on May 30th. Was the public made aware of this before? that?
Oh, it's in all the.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Everything is in the
submitted.
letters from the original DACA.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay,
It's
Yeah,
been
and
brought
that-
up by Hudson Valley Alliance several times.
And every comment that comes in is uploaded and the public is stood by. So do you wanna go into the,
Plus, we have this, well,
okay, let's go on to attorney.
how do we do this though? Can we,
What would be,
because there's a motion on the floor.
I know, but we wanna go into attorney client section before we vote on the motion,
Okay, so,
okay? So we need everybody to.
so I make another motion.
Make a motion for
Can I get a
attorney
motion
client
to-
to seek advice regarding the legality
Okay,
of, so.
So I'm making a motion for that we go into.
I have one and two. Anybody? Thank you.
Everyone please start out. Remember, attorney client is to ask me questions.
Take off the video too.
Please take off the video.
Okay, in case it's. We're on.
Okay. Okay, we resume. Can I get a motion to come out of attorney-client session?
I make a motion for us to come out of attorney-client session.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the first thing, there were no decisions made in the attorney-client, it was just legal questions that needed to be answered. Okay? So we're gonna first get a motion to whether or not to send this letter. Do you want me to read it again to the mayor? Whether or not we want to be involved in this, or he's asked for 3 members, so. You know, we want to be involved.
We did go in this.
No, you didn't.
No, we didn't vote. Yeah,
We need to
yeah,
make
we
just
got-
made it-
we didn't know
we
you
were
was
gonna
going,
do it.
yeah, we need a
I'll
motion,
make the motion.
who's second?
Second.
Okay, so. Who wants to go?
So just be clear, motion to send the letter as drafted in front of everyone.
Right,
That allowing 3 members to join the task force. Okay, now
To
you
join the
can
task
vote.
So we'll get to all in favor?
Yeah.
Of that motion.
no, Gabby motion, you second,
Right, I get to all.
You have to do all in favor.
all in favor?
Aye.
Now, when do I
You need to
figure out who's coming, any opposed?
No.
Okay, so the motion passes to send this to the mayor with. The names, no, it's,
Do we have,
no, we don't
You
say
should
names, just
interpret
remember.
things you want to be on the task force.
Right, cause he doesn't care, just. Okay, so, you're next.
So I make a motion to reopen the public hearing.
in person
Yes.
meeting? or-
For a later date in July.
Yeah,
Can we pick the date after we vote on the motion?
we're gonna have to, because I gotta look at the calendar.
This is just a motion to reopen the public
I
hearing.
second.
Okay, we're gonna roll call on this one.
Okay.
Okay, right, Dr. Young,
I hold to my initial decision and I say yes.
Randall,
Yes, I was there.
Yes.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
no, so it's 2 no's and 1, 2, 3,
62.
5.
so it passes. So, Jean and I are no, and the rest is yes. So we'll get a date, I don't know.
No, you do have to vote on a specific date.
But I have to look at the, before we vote for a date, I have to look at the city calendar to see when this is.
So if you don't vote at this meeting, you will not vote to hold a public hearing for July.
Hold on, so let me see if I can pull up the city.
That's why,
Pull up the city calendar, and for July.
And the only thing that I ask from our planning board is that it not be the last week of July, I'm on vacation.
And I'm on vacation I'm on the vacation the first 3 weeks, so.
The first 3 weeks,
The first week.
and you're on vacation the last week.
Yeah, and I,
So that's the whole month of July.
oh, okay, last week,
last week of June.
let's come in.
We did have, we weren't gonna have we're
We
going
had
to do
some-
another meeting on
On the 23rd.
Yeah, I'm available the 23rd, because I have that date on the calendar, so.
And that date is open with that date is open with the calendar. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have anything on the 23rd, I could do the 23rd of June you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just know I can't do the 30th,
What date in June, sorry?
23rd on a
it's
Monday.
a
You
Monday.
just need a quorum, so.
So my only concern is, it sounded like this was going to be an ongoing process. So if this is in response to, I don't know how long this is going on for, you know what I mean? So I think it would make sense that if we're going to hold this to have most of those meetings or have it completed.
We may have one day.
No, like,
A little later, you're saying.
cause it wouldn't make sense, so say there's gonna be a total of like 6 meetings, and we hold this public hearing after meeting 2, I don't know if that's really addressing the concern.
That makes sense.
Task force, it's,
Well. Well, it's whether or not, I mean, the task force is separate, so the public hearing just needs to be on what is currently presented to the public, so. The public hearing is not in response to the task force, because that's unrelated to the planning board, so. The public hearing that was just reopened is solely on the current application that's in front of the board, to allow people to make comments. For conditions they want, conditions to make sure everyone's heard. It's not a, it's not a response to the task force or regard related to the task force.
The majority of the planning board have, thinks that we're gonna get new comments. We're gonna get new stuff coming from different people, so that's why they voted. Okay,
And it's new comments based off of when the planning board reports.
based on the application, Carlos the dot. On the current application in front of us. Not what is going to come out of the task force. So we don't have to wait for that,
Can I ask a question?
yes.
Let's say this task force comes up with new conditions and colors that comes back to us.
Mhm.
Then will there be another public hearing in response to that new application with those conditions added and giving the public a chance to respond?
If the board feels as though that's required, sure, and it's very typical for boards. It's very typical for applicants to change the application several times. And amend the applications that like many times before. And then not reopen the public hearing. That's happened in a lot of these cases. It doesn't always happen like that. It's whether or not you think the public should.
Sometimes it's reopened.
Yeah, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But if that's your concern, then we should just leave the public hearing open till a date to be determined. I mean, that's the other option, is we don't set a date, but just know that you have to set a date and time by vote. So if you wanna vote at the July meeting, that's fine, I just want you to bear that in mind, so you have to wait another month
To revote,
to revote, cause if you leave it to be determined. Then you have to wait till the next meeting to vote on it, so if you think the 23rd is too open, that's too close, that's fine, but you just have to think about. How long it's gonna stay in public hearing, and then how long until the next meeting, cause if you would have to wait till August if you vote in July.
Well, let's see, now, when I look at,
What? I'm sorry.
you got-
Why would we have to wait till August if we vote in July? Because we're voting in June and we were about to set it in.
Well, it has to be 10 days to notice, right, so it could be at the end of July, but several people have said.
I see.
July.
Yeah.
No, it's only in response to you guys saying you don't have time.
Understood, sorry, understood.
It's just kind of, some vacation, so,
is there a different calendar, cause this doesn't have
See,
anything.
I'm sorry, but the internet is down, so I can't access the
Well,
calendar.
this is the calendar, but this is.
for the city?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
but there's
July,
nothing, but
for
there's
the
nothing,
July,
but there's nothing written.
there's
in-
nothing written in it.
Yeah, that's-
Well, they might not have updated it yet, it's only June.
but it's nothing even for June.
Wow, interesting.
That's weird.
This is the calendar.
Then that's not the right city calendar. Cause usually it goes to, I think she gives us 3 months.
I don't think so, but this is the city
June
calendar,
is there and July is there.
that's
Oh,
the calendar, and that's June. And that's July. Unless I'm looking at something,
Lloyd, what
Can-
you say?
Can I,
Only June.
can I ask
Oh.
another question?
okay.
If we put this vote off until July, it seems like at this point, I'm just responding to Veronica's point, which I thought was valid. It seems like at this point, we're not moving the process along anyway, right? We have no plan.
Well, currently, no, they have not resubmitted in response to the comments. But your open discussion, I mean, if they submit, you need to have an open discussion.
Right, so they could submit before the July meeting,
Correct.
and then the open discussion would have to happen at the July meeting.
Yes,
And then could we still then,
yes.
okay,
Yes, so you could still have the public hearing, and in fact, maybe then you'll have a public discussion on the open. Then the public comments would probably be on the open discussion you had as a board, so it would be in feedback to that most likely, but you just reopened the public hearing, that also means that if people wanna submit comments, they can, and then will be on the record. So since since you already opened it, also you don't have a date, but you opened it indefinitely now until a date to be determined. So the public is still able to write to you now, everything will be part of the public hearing.
Okay, wait a minute, didn't you say we couldn't open it without a date?
You can't, no, you need to vote on a date if you're gonna hold an in-person hearing. You open the public hearing generally, so now every public comment is going.
so we can vote on the date next time.
Yeah, and the only caution was, you have to wait till July to pick a date, then it will be late July or August, and if you wait till August, it'll have to be after August and
So
September.
do we have to re-vote in July?
You'll have to vote to set the date of the hearing, yes.
Yeah, but why can't we set the date to that?
It was just in response to Veronica's.
But let's try to set a date, like. You were talking about the 23rd to 24th, because we had.
No,
something.
the only date that I can assure that that the hall was available was on the 23rd.
And I'm still here, I'm not on vacation.
Okay, that's Monday, you say Monday?
Is it on?
You're talking
That is
about
that is July.
July,
Yeah.
23rd, June.
Oh, that's
23rd.
Yeah, but Veronica's concern was that it was
It's
sort
too
of.
soon, it's too soon.
But that's the only date right now that I can confirm that this hall is available. And because we may have, if we were gonna go to another date.
This
because-
hall or the?
No, I can't confirm nothing for anything else but this hall.
Yeah.
Let me finish. If, because if we were gonna go to another date for the agenda, that would have been the 23rd, because I was available.
All right,
Okay. So if that's too soon, then does that mean we have to revote and?
Well, it's whether or not you think it's too soon, I mean, if
I don't think it's too soon, I like to make a motion that we do it that day, if it's clear for everybody else.
I guess here's my, now that this point has brought up, here is my concern.
Okay.
If there is going to be an issue about the public hearing being open for too long, right?
Well, like I said, if you don't have a reason, as long as you have a valid reason to keep it open, it's fine.
And the reason is because they think they're gonna get more.
Well, yeah, so on the record, as long as you state your reasons, it's fine.
Right, but
They do reason.
if, if it seemed that some of our reason had to do with this task force and the public's response to that and feeling left out of the process. So if the task force isn't yet truly underway by the 23rd, then that issue is still on the table, and then we may feel compelled to keep it open longer. So possibly holding the vote later holding the meeting later makes more sense to address the very nature of the concern, so it doesn't have to happen twice or for a longer period of time.
But I see what you're saying, but what I heard was the task force and our job are two separate things, and they shouldn't be intertwined as one or confused. That's going to become an issue.
And one have an effect on the other.
Right, and the first task force meeting is Monday.
Friday,
It's
Friday.
Friday,
So there will.
one of many, right?
We don't
We don't
know.
know that. No.
Okay, so we don't yet know.
It
So
could be one meeting, it could be four, I mean,
We don't know.
that's what I'm saying, I think the 23rd is a reasonable date. Because otherwise, July looks like a month, we're not really gonna have anything happening, so then we've opened a public hearing and then haven't anything go for a month and a half. Almost, a month and a half.
And July was
Before we
likely
vote,
because there's
before we-
people on vacation that's on the board, correct?
We vote in July.
you guys have a quorum for your July meeting though, right? It should determine that.
Oh, yeah, I'm still here, I'm not going until the end of July,
Oh,
so.
And I'll be gone. There's a couple weeks in July.
First
And I will make sure that I don't bring.
First week,
anything.
so-
I won't be here for July's meeting. I won't be here for 3 weeks
I
in
will,
July.
because I'll.
That's-
So what happens if you're not here for any?
Randall is our quasi
I see.
vice chair.
Sorry to speak out loud, can it just happen at the meeting? I'm just wondering at the planning board meeting, like the way a lot of the other applications happen.
Oh,
Like,
when-
can we just speak after, cover some talks?
Oh, can we?
Okay,
Sorry,
we
sorry.
thank you, but
I know, I apologize.
just let, yeah, we're gonna.
I just-
But that's a question that
Well, then you answer, yeah.
does the public hearing, I had this just unrelated, have to happen? Yeah, why do sometimes public hearings happen on dates that are separate from the planning board meeting dates?
Capacity, because they don't have to be scheduled here, and then also length, right, so, I mean, they tend to go on long, and then you have, it's not necessarily not fair to other applicants, but there's other applicants.
Sure,
And we had 6 people on the agenda today, imagine if we had a long public hearing and then 6 people on the agenda.
Yeah, it's a capacity.
Understood.
Incapacity,
We,
because it's not fair.
we schedule based on here, and sometimes we don't do it here, because, we
Yeah.
can only hold how many people? 49
Yeah.
inside the chamber.
Mhm.
So back to the date. 23rd,
What time?
6:30.
Just get rid of time.
It's a Monday, right, so it's hard.
Do you have consensus for who can attend?
Is that enough time for
Okay,
them to send their?
Hold on, actually, good point, so it's
Yeah,
the 11th. Yes, it's
No.
just in time for Linda to post for it.
It's a Monday again, yeah.
Linda, as long as she gets it out tomorrow, it will hit the paper and also, cause you're gonna have to renotice the hearing because you closed it, so it does matter.
Is that 23rd work for you?
So you count the 10 days also weekends?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Oh, so it's
consecutive
not
days.
business days, okay.
no, the way the code's written, it's just consecutive days.
Even when they submit things to us, it's 15 days, but it's consecutive, weekends, holidays, everything.
What's for you?
Well, I'm sorry.
We still talking about.
Oh, yeah, I had already said 23rd, like I think twice worked for me.
Yeah, I think we all kind of agreed to the 23rd to be like a backup date. Yeah.
So, so if you're ready, motion to set the public hearing at June 23rd at 6:30 in the firehouse.
Jean?
I make that motion.
I
Who's
second it.
All of, do we have to go around and move it down? All in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed.
Oh, yeah, I oppose too.
You can, I oppose.
Oh, well, I'm not gonna lie. I oppose.
And you can go around, I'm
Go
sorry.
around.
Randall,
I thought the 23rd work for you.
Oh, the 23rd works for me, yeah.
So why'd you?
Oh, I don't know, I was opposing that. I was opposing
I made the motion.
reopening the meeting.
That was
Opposing that.
on the 23rd.
at the firehouse at 6:30.
No, I don't know, I cannot, do not know.
Yeah,
We're not gonna put the firehouse on
I'm
there.
gonna say here, right now.
Okay, that's right, that's the only place I know is available, it's here.
Okay, but wait, but when the notice has to have the place.
Well, it's got to have
valid
here.
notice.
It has to have here,
Okay.
okay? Because we, I have to contact them and get their permission.
Yeah, we don't know if that's possible.
So there's logistical concerns in this room, so it's up to you guys.
Can't we wait to see when the firehouse is available, since this room can't accommodate very many people,
Then
and the
we-
whole
we
point
won't-
is to
we-
bring
then
the
you won't
public
get
in.
the-
Then we will get the letter out and we can't have it on this month on the 23rd.
You have a condition on availability. I didn't say that.
My, my concern is that the public won't be able,
Are you talking to us?
yes,
Okay.
that if we can't, that if we set the date and we don't know if we can accommodate the public in this space, then what happens?
See, what can happen is 49 can fit in here, but you got other people that can fit outside, so when they wanna talk, we'll open the door. And when they wanna, we'll call their name with their time, sign the sheet, call their name, and they can come up to the front. No, we're not taking public comments, thank you. Okay, so that's what I'm saying, 49 could fit in the chamber, but outside more can fit. Okay, and the last meeting, I think the firehouse held, 100 people or something?
Yeah.
And we didn't have
You
100.
have a condition.
People were
of-
standing in the
It was that.
People were standing in the
Decide,
doorway.
can you have the meeting Monday the 23rd at 6:30 p.m. Place to do it?
Yes,
That way you don't have to.
yeah, and then you'll have to cancel it if you can't have it there, I think that's the latest.
So she could public notice it without a.
No, she
information
needs
of
a
the
date,
person.
I mean, no, you guys are gonna have to call tomorrow to see if you can do the firehouse. If, so you're gonna have to notice, you could be at a place to be determined and vote tonight, but tomorrow you have to have a place.
That's fine, yeah, that's what you need, the 24 hours.
Is it 10-day
How about
time frame?
10-day time frame to get it posted in the newspaper, 10-day time frame for the newspaper, so it's more than a 10-day. time.
question, can we move it down a week and then that makes life easier for everybody, like the 30th or the 1st?
Then we have to find out if the place is up there.
But we still
And
have
that
to
gives a
find
little
that out.
wiggle
We
room?
still gotta find out what's available.
Excuse me,
I
just
can do-
regarding the public hearing, we're
Done.
not looking for a hearing just so we can come and give you more comments. We want a hearing, we want to know what the applicant responds to all of the concerns that
See,
have been raised
that-
thus far. We want to hear we want the board to start your review and just have an opportunity to ask questions and have input during that process. We're not looking to come to you and give you a whole bunch more comments. We've already given you a lot, as you know.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yes, darling.
Well, a public hearing is to get new comments, that's what they're voting for.
I just need five applicants, speaks to speak response to that.
Okay, we're not gonna respond to anybody, listen, please. Okay, please, stop it, stop it, please.
But that is clarifying to me, because I thought,
We're talking among ourselves and please, I'm sorry.
no, that's
Kathy,
okay.
But please, just let us finish, okay? We understand that you all have comments, you can write them in, send them in to us,
When you
about first meeting.
when you gonna have that phone?
Okay, wait a minute, Randall, let Gabby finish.
This goes back to my previous question, once we get the new submitted proposal from Colarusso or not, and.
No, we're not gonna get anything from Colorado, so we're opening up the public hearing to say it again.
Guys, the applicant always responds after the close of the public hearing. It's
Exactly.
how it,
Yeah.
the public hearing is for the planning board to impose conditions on the applicant. Public hearing is for public engagement onto the process of what they think they can see. The applicant is not necessarily bound to the public hearing, and you guys are not necessarily bound to the public hearing, so it's not an answer. It's not like a answer and question, kind of like, that's not the purpose of the public hearing.
So what they're asking, which is to be able to respond to the applicant's response to their comments. It doesn't work that way. The applicant only responds once the public hearing is closed.
And listen, right.
And then, but then in this process, Colarusso will, we're imagining, resubmit based on this task force.
Right.
Then the public hearing
No, we
could be
can't say
reopened, so
correct.
they can respond to that.
In theory, the public, yes, in
Okay.
theory, the public, you have the right to if you
Or
think.
state.
No, I heard a different question.
No, okay, I'm gonna answer the question, if you think I'm wrong, please correct me. You're asking if. It's open right now, so in theory, you could continue it to a later date for when they submit. And then decide to close it later on, depending on how if you think the public is gonna give more comments at that point. Or in theory, you could close it again and then reopen it at that time, if you think the public is going to give you more comments after they've already answered all the public comments. So cause you already opened the public hearing, so it's already open. So you you can keep it open and then close it. Until when you close it, if you think you're not gonna get more comments after this, or you can close it now and then reopen it if you would like, after the Colarusso has already answered all the public concerns. So yes, at the time Colarusso resubmits, you can reopen the public hearing if it's closed. It's already open though, so it's not closed right now.
Yeah, I'm just saying. keep it
Understood.
open.
All right, now, Colarusso.
Yeah.
The public hearing was held at the firehouse. Closed May 30th. Has Colarusso made any effort to present a response?
Task force was asked from them, so they
No,
haven't.
no, nothing to do with the task force.
Right.
Colarusso themselves. It was their public hearing. They need to respond,
Yes,
and it was closed May 30th. Since May 30th to today, has Colarusso made any effort to respond?
they will, but they have been asked to join the task force, and yes, it's unrelated to this process, but I think it's forestalled them a little bit. And
But you said
So
you
it's
think,
not
but that's
unrelated
not.
to the process.
well, it is.
If they would have responded to public comment, within a certain time frame of the closing of the public hearing, and they're not doing so because of the task force, then it is related to this process,
But-
yes?
But they're not required to, so like,
Right.
there's two separate streams going on, and it's also confusing to the applicant, it's not just, that's the interference with the task force in this process, but. I need the reason I said they're separate is because it can't impact your review in terms of, your review has to happen if they submit regardless of what's going on with the task force, that's why it doesn't matter. In terms of whether or not they're reviewing the public comments, that is what they're currently doing right now. And they may be waiting on the task force to resubmit, they may not, I'm not the applicant, I have no idea what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah, she doesn't, yeah.
Of course,
Right.
but we can
No.
surmise that they are not going to respond to public comments while they're having this.
I have, I
No,
don't know.
I don't think
No.
we should do that because they can't.
Right.
And also,
Right, they have not said they
It's
was
been
not going
11
to.
days since they closed the public hearing,
Right.
so they haven't had time to answer every public comment, honestly. Some of those were engineering questions about noise, to give the applicant like the benefit of the doubt, it's only been 11 days and some of those were high-tech suggestions and. I think they have to regroup and go through them and with their attorney, with their engineer.
We haven't even,
Yeah, you haven't even.
we haven't
yeah.
even gone through all of them.
Yes, yeah.
We haven't had our attorney-client session to go through them all yet. But they, their response to us has nothing to do with the task force. Even though I know it was mentioned in Sandra's comment that they're delayed because of it, but we don't know
I
that.
don't also know that.
We don't know that,
Understood.
okay? So I wanna correct the record that we do not know.
Yeah, thank you, Teresa.
Okay,
It's
they
late
can
and I-
respond tomorrow, we don't know.
I have not been in correspondence with the applicant's attorney, I have no idea what they're doing.
And we don't know when they're gonna respond, they have time, it wasn't on the agenda this time. but we don't know. They have
Understood.
not responded to date. Okay,
And I think, maybe they need, I think, yes, the passport is unrelated, but maybe they need clarification that you would like that response soon. I mean, if that's the case, I think that needs to be on the record now. Do you want a response by next meeting? I think that's something that needs to be
so we
settled.
opened up the
Well, you've opened up
public
the
hearing
hearing now,
now,
but
so.
So I'm just looking now, that is the count, I found another count.
Oh, you
So,
did,
yeah.
right,
So the 23rd, that's the HHA, but that's a hybrid meeting from Bliss. So this room is open and the 30th is open. But again, our preference would be,
you could do at a place to be predetermined on the 30th and see if the virus is open.
I won't be available on the 30th.
I'm not available, I'm out of town. We
Same,
yeah,
same.
cause that's gonna be
I'm out,
near the July 4th week,
I'm out.
yeah.
Oh, wait, oh no, yes, I'll be available.
It's the Monday
I
before
leave the,
July.
I leave the second, so it's probably not a good meeting, people have
It's
vacation.
not a good day for me, I'm not
okay.
gonna be able to prepare myself mentally, I'm preparing myself.
I'd also
You
be
told me
worried.
the 30th is not a good day, or the
It's
23rd.
like the day before July 4th.
It's 5 days before.
Well, that's a day for me, it was 5 days ago, I'm ready to travel.
It's like a, I got a request.
Yeah.
People in the,
Right.
he's got input that might be advantageous to us, and so does she.
Okay,
Can we hear him out?
if you want to,
So-
do you want?
so-
Are you talking about, Tony, and you're talking about Don?
What's your name? Tony. Tony, yes, Tony and what?
Donna.
Donna?
You know, normally we don't because.
We normally don't, but because it's such a controversy, and what you started to say might help us up here. So is that all right to do?
Sure, is it all right with everybody else?
I guess I was looking at Mill Street was kept up to the end, that people could public out and speak. The public could speak after each meeting, and you guys approved Mill Street a few weeks ago, and the public was always allowed to speak, so I always thought it was important that the structure that. The planning board discusses the application, the applicant replies, and then the people get to speak. That always seems to be the best structure, because sometimes the applicant says stuff that isn't necessarily accurate, or the planning board does as well. So it always seems like the best process, so that's where leaving it open indefinitely seems helpful. And that's where I was wondering if we could take that route, to speak after the meetings.
Leaving what open, the planning,
The public.
public hearing for Colorado.
For the public, public input, public hearing, open indefinitely. So I don't know if that's an option, but that's what I was planning.
So
That may be prolonging it in a
It's-
sense, but.
So that's what we're for Mill Street, every time there was.
How would you close out Mill Street's my only question.
There were outstanding concerns at Mill Street for me and the
Very much.
engineer, that it's just a very different application. There were consultant concerns that were not being addressed related to seeker and other things, like there were other concerns, and it wasn't a type 2 action. It was, Mill Street was a gigantic project with extreme environmental impact. I mean, we said it was an egg deck, but, and we did go, the board did say it wasn't a significant environmental review, and it was not. But it was, it was taking an undeveloped piece of land and putting in a large project, and there were flooding concerns that had to be
And
reviewed.
we left, the boulevards open for a long time too, the same thing.
Right.
There were a million concerns
Right.
about this project.
My only concern is, I understand there's so much talk of the Hall Road, it's just actually the dock.
Yes, it's just.
I'm new to the dock, and it's only been one public hearing in the last 5 years on the dock, so it is a separate item. So, so that's where it's just part of the need to get more of us up to speed. So,
22,
June 22nd is the only meeting, you'll take that, but like.
22. I think the last
So-
public hearing for doc was,
Yeah.
for the road, what are you talking about, the road?
No, the dock, I'm saying, you talked so much about the road, and the road gets confused, and the dock is separate, and we've only had one meeting about the dock, so that's part of the urgency of opening up. So we can talk more than once about it.
But it's been going on for.
So,
Let's-
Sorry, I'm new to the dock, I'm still learning the dock, I have no idea it's the dock that I love to present to, so that's why, figuring out.
well, the public hearing on the dock has been open since 2018.
The road, let's focus on the road, sorry.
No, it was noticed for both, that's not accurate, so, the original hearing was noticed for just the Hall Road, you are correct.
Yes.
Then in 2018, I'm sorry, my computer died, so I don't have the exact dates. But at one point, 2018, 2019,
Here's it.
it was noticed, and I've gone myself to review the notices to confirm this. That the dock was noticed along with the Hall Road. They were combined hearings, that is true.
Yeah.
They were both closed, they got separate county referrals, they were both closed at the same date, that is correct. Then it was reopened on just the Hall Road and reopened on just the dock.
Yeah.
But those like 5 years of hearings were actually both, and we did receive substantive dock comments at the time. The dock is about, I don't know, like half the comments are about the dock. Because people, at the time, the issue is at the time, there was a pause deck that combined the two projects as well, so that was also part of the reason you got both the dock and the road comments at the same time. So a lot of the road comments encompass the dock, and when we went through the original public hearing for the Hall Road, it was actually a hard time separating the two comments, and a lot of the dock comments ended up in the Hall Road advice. It's gonna be the same here. Because if it mentions the dock, it has to be part of the record.
For sure, but I think everybody's energy was really at the road, and I introduced to the dock and had been following every one of these meetings, so that's what the difference is, and also seeker was thrown out, so now it's all different.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying about Mill Street being environmental, and that, I apologize, it's late, I've been.
No, I
since 8
appreciate
a.m.
you guys saying that, it's right.
It's tight, so it's a type 2 action, that's the court saying that, not the board, the court has ruled it's a type 2 action, Mill Street, Fairview, not type 2 action, that's what I meant by environmental reviews and outstanding concerns, because there's a neg deck that had to be followed, and in Mill Street, the neg deck, we wanted to make sure whatever was approved matched what the board originally set parameters for, right, same with Fairview. There was a neg deck that said you had to have parking this way, therefore the approval had to match the neg deck, that's not the case here, so it's a little bit different of a review.
And with Caruso, when the court decision came back, it separated the application.
No, sure.
Right, so it has specific terms on the road, which is we decided on, and specific terms on the dock.
Yes, no, that's what it is, I'm just catching it.
So, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the prior, public hearing, the combined dock and Hall Road ran from July 2019 to July 2020, it was closed.
Sounds about right.
And during that
Sounds
time, the board was deliberating, the applicant was submitting information, the public had an opportunity to ask questions, raise.
And write in.
concerns, And writing, which we did. Thankfully, you reopened the public hearing, on May 6th.
Right.
You closed it that same day
Right.
without asking any questions or without any expressing any questions or concerns to the applicant. Without requiring the applicant to provide a written response before the hearing was closed, upon which. We may have concerns about how the applicant responds. The applicant has been known tasked with providing. Not totally correct information, and we just want the opportunity to be involved in the process. I don't know technically how it works with the planning board here, other than. We just want an opportunity to ask questions and raise input. We're not asking you to reopen the public hearing so that we can come to you and give you a whole bunch more comments. We've already done all of that. Now, we would just like for you to do your review, which you'll be doing against the code. And to get the applicant's response, so we don't want to slow that down. We open the public hearing and you say, oh, the applicant can't respond to afterwards. That's not what we want. We want the applicant to respond. And then if you have questions or concerns, that we can raise them. So I don't think opening it on June 23rd is going to do any good. I mean, we don't want to provide you more comments now. There's no new information.
I think I would.
Wait a minute, hold it.
Can I just
Let's
respond?
Donna.
There's a lot of
And
new
then she's
board
gonna
members.
respond to you.
There's 3 new board members who are very recent to the board, and I just wanna take this opportunity to explain. The way it should work, and Mill Street and Fairview are just bad examples because
Don't talk about this.
Yeah, they're just-
talk about
they're bad examples. The way it should work
Alright,
is, since this is a type 2 action, the way it should work is the comments should come in. You guys, that's what we're going to have an open meeting discussion on the public comments. And you are addressing the comments and then you push it back to the applicant. And that is how those other 2 projects worked as well. All our projects come with, we hear the public comments. We, as a consultants, or as Teresa or board members, it depends on if it's technical, legal, or just a general, public welfare comment. They go to the applicant. So for example, Mill Street, the board wanted sidewalks, they heard it from the public, they heard it from the board requested it on behalf of the public. It's not because the public said it, it was because the board heard the public and then requested it directly in the applicant. That's clear in the record. There's a letter from the planning board chair that, and from the consultants requesting they put sidewalks for increased density, for example. So that's how it works. So in theory, you would give your comments, then the board will discuss it and from the applicant, either A, ask the applicant to respond of why they should or should not do it. Or B, where is this? We need it. It's going to be a condition. So that's the way it typically works on the planning board, is that your comments are filtered through the planning board then puts them on the applicant. Like, that's the only binding source, because public hearings aren't binding, so it has to come from the planning board. So that's how, we haven't had the open discussion yet on the conditions, that has to happen.
Yeah, in other words, all the comments have come in. We haven't even had a chance to get them all together yet and discuss them among the planning board.
Yeah.
And I understand what you're saying, we would like to see that done. But normally, in this case, it's done after the public hearing is closed to get all, because as long as we keep the public hearing open, people could bring in more comments.
So another question I have is, I understood, maybe I have a misunderstanding that when the public hearing is closed, there's a 62-day time
Yes,
clock.
For site,
For
for site plans,
site plan.
this isn't site plan, special permit,
So there is no.
Special use.
special use permit, no, because many communities require site plans, Hudson does not.
No, Victoria said it's only for lot adjustments.
No. In most communities, special use permit requires site plan, in this community, it does not. So it's only a conditional special use permit, that's all that's being before the board right now.
I just want to suggest that the public hearing be right after your guys' next planning board meeting, so that you guys will review the public comments, talk about them, and then the next day could be the public hearing, just so we can stay concurrent, so we can.
Well, we would like to do it, we would like to get all the comments.
Right.
And if there's gonna be new comments, and that's why the ones that voted to open the public hearing, because they believe new comments are coming in.
But again, the only reason, so for example, I'm speaking on behalf of our Hudson waterfront. The reason we wanted the public hearing open is that we wanted it just to be an ongoing process where the board, you begin your review. The applicant provides its response to all the concerns that have been raised by the public and concerns and requests that you have of the applicant, and that we have an opportunity to have input and raise questions.
We were not able to get together the.
So we don't plan to send you anything like. Again, I don't think.
But it's not just you.
It's right on the side.
Now, wait a minute, how many are you talking about here, because right now you're talking about you, so it's not just you. When we're talking about the public in general, you're talking about people that live on Allen Street, Union Street, you know, which is, okay, so. Call it.
On this, also,
Columbia.
this is obvious.
Then it's talking.
It's obviously a very complicated application, and there's a lot of legal consequences. In the past 11 days, there is very good reason for us and new comments that we have behind, that we were putting together, that it applies to different interpretations of the code and other things that we believe are significant. So we strongly believe there is a reason to reopen the public hearing.
Well, we've already voted.
We already did vote
for that.
So we're there.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say yes, you said you don't think.
We're just continuing the meeting, is what it.
So here's what I
I think
suggest.
just the way other things would be better, but June 22nd is all that works, it's fine. But it's just a little bit quicker. If we have more time to get more comments, because we only have 10 days to write a new one.
But here-
So what's that?
Here's what I suggest to the planning board, okay?
Let's listen.
So here are your options. You can vote to hold the public hearing in July, like as in vote on July's meeting date to hold that public hearing. You can right now vote to close the public hearing, and then at your July meeting, you can have an open discussion on the board of all the comments, which was the original purpose of the July meeting, that was always gonna happen, was to have the open discussion that was supposed to happen at the July meeting. You have that discussion, and at that time, you could decide whether or not you're gonna reopen the hearing, or you keep the hearing open and you still have the open discussion on the July meeting. So those are your options.
Can we do that? Can we, if the July meeting is scheduled to discuss the public comments, can we not just hold the public hearing on that same day, so the public can respond to the comments.
Wait a
There
minute,
won't-
wait.
But the problem is.
No, you have to vote on the July meeting.
That's what I'm
That's what
asking.
it's just-
You'd have to vote to move the public hearing to the July meeting, then to vote to set it to the July meeting.
That's what,
That's what Gabby's
Another
saying.
date though.
the same
From the-
date.
No,
as
Gabby's
the-
saying the same day.
If
That's
that
too much.
meeting,
That's
if
too
that
much.
meeting has been earmarked to discuss the project already,
No, you missed.
I'm saying it's most, if, listen, if,
That's not what she meant.
no, it's not necessarily been earmarked, but there has to be a next agenda for the open meeting. The board's still reviewing the comments, I'm just assuming it would be the July or August meeting, would most likely be the next meeting, it's not earmarked, the agenda hasn't.
Right, it's not,
Yeah,
it's
but
not,
people that already
she's
on the
talking, but it's
agenda.
not confirmed.
I know, but people, regular people, other people are gonna be on that agenda. The reason to have that separate day
Yeah.
is that we don't have the meeting go 5 hours.
Yeah.
So that,
I don't know what the July agenda looks, maybe
Right,
they'll have 10
exactly.
people on it, I mean,
Right,
it's unclear, if maybe there was gonna be a special meeting held. Maybe there wasn't going to be, I mean, it just depends on the agenda.
so so if we vote to vote on the meeting date, on the public hearing date during the July 8th meeting, does that mean that during the July 8th meeting, we cannot discuss the public comments?
No.
It's still open?
Well, you could discuss the public comments, but they're not final.
That'll
Well,
be,
that's
if it's gonna be the meeting date, I'm not, I can't, that's a lot.
No. What I'm asking is, which was one of the suggestions, that we wait to vote on the date of the public hearing until July 8th. And if we do so, can we still discuss, have an open discussion about the public comments that have come in so far?
If the board feels that that's what they wish, I mean, it's a board decision.
Well,
That seems like the obvious solution to me.
before we do that, we have to speak with our consultants to gather them together for us and kind of have a.
well, we can't pick a date. Well,
Right.
you said pick the date then.
Just to pick the date then, because
I mean, if you don't need to necessarily, I just thought that there would actually be more comments, as Ben alluded to, by the 23rd.
but they can submit them in writing
I know,
before
but
the July 8th meeting, and then we can discuss them in the July 8th meeting, set a date for the public hearing, so that then there could be a response.
we could, we can gather them as of now.
Wait, what do
You know, if the public hearing is open.
I'm getting confused here. We already voted on the public hearing.
Yes, we're trying to vote on the date, right?
No, date's already set.
We
No,
said the
no, we
23rd.
didn't set the date yet. We didn't set the date
We
yet.
were talking about the 23rd.
Yeah, but we didn't vote on the 23rd yet.
But we were talking about the 23rd,
Yeah,
so
we
we're
were.
not on the 23rd anymore.
Well,
We didn't actually vote on it, so.
I know, but that's the day we were discussing, so
Right.
are we
But the-
not discussing?
The conversation is if it should be a later date, or if we should wait
Other than
to push this
23rd.
back, exactly.
Okay,
And
so let's finish that discussion, because we're getting confused myself.
because we're saying that July
We voted.
July is a tough month for everybody with
It
vacation.
was an open date for if we needed it, the 23rd.
Right,
So, it was an open date that, for a hard stop, anything we needed, we try to get another date, every meeting we have, we always try to get another date.
well, my thinking was the 23rd, that we would have new comments, significant new comments by people, and by the time that maybe a couple of meetings have already happened, maybe that other information is in the press or it comes back to us in some other way, so that we would have something to discuss with the public about that. And it wouldn't have to be a huge
Well,
meeting.
I think that we will have it, I mean, if the public, if you're acting because you feel that the public really wanted it and we're going to get new comments, they should be. It'll be open, it'll be broadcast tomorrow, and they have plenty of time.
Yeah, so the motion on the floor was for the 23rd for a special meeting.
No, to set a public hearing.
Not a special meeting, not a special meeting that would be for public.
Yes, just to set a public
Information.
hearing on calendar cell.
Yes.
On June
23rd.
23rd, at a place to be determined, which will be in the notice tomorrow.
Right.
Okay, Lloyd wants to ask a question.
Just a quick comment. So if the mayor had never made this suggestion, what would have happened? We'd be sitting, this whole discussion would never have happened. And we'd be waiting for the applicant to make their submission.
I don't know,
Not necessarily.
I voted
Not
against
necessarily.
it, so I don't, where is it coming from? Is that why you brought it up?
Danny?
I don't see the point in speculating about something that's a hypothetical.
But
Let's just, can we just try to get this?
Yeah.
Settled?
So I made the motion,
Yeah.
we have a second for the 20.
Wait, what's the motion for?
To set a public hearing.
Set it
all
up
of
public
this.
hearing
Yeah.
in July.
Quick
No,
comment,
June 23rd.
Whoa, my
It
God.
sounds like what the public is saying, if we're now taking into account their comments, is that the 23rd.
We can't take that in, we have to take into account when we're available, when the place available. When can we, get this done and move it on?
But if we're doing it for the sake of the public.
No,
and
we're
we
doing
just
it for
allow
new
them to
submissions.
speak.
If you have something, submit it.
So we do, it's a tight timeline to be able to get a serious legal.
No, but
review of that by
Okay, the public
23rd,
hearing is gonna be
so
on the 23rd,
I think-
but more than likely, we'll probably, if we don't close it, it'll go on.
I mean, if
Yeah,
we
yeah,
keep
but-
it open ideally, because we've uncovered a lot of new things, so
Well, We'll decide that on the 23rd. If we have it on the 23rd,
Okay,
if we're agreeing to have it on the June 23rd. So on June 23rd is when we will make that decision whether to keep it open past the 23rd, or we will close it on the 23rd. That would be our decision. So the public will be notified maybe tomorrow or the day after that that the public hearing for Kawamuso Dock has been reopened. And I would advise everyone to get your comments in as soon, because on the 23rd, we'll decide then whether or not we're gonna close it on the 23rd or we're gonna keep it open, okay? All right, so.
there's no other date in July that works, I'm just saying, it is.
No, no date.
You gotta check.
It may go, the public hearing may be kept open after the 23rd, all the way to July or August. But right now, we need a date to open it.
Because, I know that people are gonna be out of town in July and that's why it couldn't be closed, but would there be enough of us here to have a quorum and hold it at a later date in July? We just need a quorum.
I'm not gonna be here.
Does get recording, right?
But you're not gonna be here for the July 8th meeting either, right?
No.
Okay. So would we have a quorum if we picked a date in mid-July after the next?
I don't know,
planning meeting?
Gene's not gonna be here. I don't know about.
I'm not.
I'm here.
What day is
You're
it?
here up until the last
And
minute.
I
right?
mean,
15th.
me and Victoria, one of us needs to be available just to make sure open meeting law is followed, so. Let me check the calendar, 15th,
The 15th or
The
the
only day?
second?
no, hold on. 15th. I'm available, Victoria's also, as of now.
All month of July,
No,
Let me see.
15th.
the
No, I
15th,
was on the 6th waiting list. No, I'm not-
Right now, let's look at the 50,
the 15th,
15th, which is a Tuesday.
We have a meeting on the 23rd.
That's a-
we're having a meeting July 8th.
What happened to June 23rd?
That's gone now.
Well, no, it's not gone.
No, it's not gone, we're just
We're
looking at a
just-
later, we're just
It's
looking
in
at
the
a possible
discussion.
later.
So the dates are the 23rd or the 15th.
We're seeing if we would have a quorum on the 15th, because if the point of having a public hearing is to hear from the public.
And
To
give them
give them
time.
time to actually come to us with something to hear, it doesn't make sense just to try to get it done. The point is to actually hear what they have to say, so giving them the opportunity to say it.
They already know what they're gonna say.
We don't know what.
They already know what they're gonna say.
Finish.
They're gonna submit it in writing, they're gonna attend the meeting, and they're gonna tell us what they're thinking. They've got 2 weeks to do it, that's plenty of time.
And it may not close.
Today's.
But some people are saying that they need to have more research that they need to gather. To prepare.
We only have
For that
one
meeting.
person saying,
Well, we're not saying that we're gonna close it after they.
I heard more than one.
Exactly, so we're not, if we leave it open, it does
It was, 15th is so perfect, because you guys would say something July 8th, and you get to respond a week later, like, I do think it sounds like the common sense thing, and.
but we're not gonna guarantee that we're gonna
Okay,
say
of course.
something on July.
Okay, but at least.
We know, I know that was said, but there's no guarantee that they're gonna be on the agenda of the July 8th either.
But it is just super rushed that in a week and a half, we're trying to get new ideas out to you, so the 15th seems, I'm
Well-
sure that would speak well to the people.
Here, but I kind of, I'm confused, because I thought the vote was because we already felt that they have new ideas, not that they're going to find them and get them to us. Are we promoting that
well, what I'm hearing is that they wanna be able to, what I'm hearing is that
are we
that the
promoting,
public wants-
let me finish. are we promoting the public to go and get new ideas, or is it because we, at the close of the last of the public hearing, it was a felt that they had more ideas?
Felt that there was a lot of momentum and there was a lot of desire to keep people talking and to keep discussion and research happening. And
And
now,
come up with new, and have new ideas or new concerns that they were gonna submit to us.
But now,
So we're not promoting people to go out and find new
no,
ideas.
but now what I'm hearing is
So you
that the
should
public
have-
wants to hear what Calarusso's responsive is. So they
He's not gonna
to
respond, most of the time they don't respond until the close.
But that's what they
Until they get them all,
mentioned.
until they get all of the comments.
There's just some landscaping ideas and all sorts of stuff that take a lot of work, so it's not like, oh, here's my comments, it's like, here's an idea that we could do with mediation and things like that.
Do you have it already prepared?
It's in process, so I know a lot of people are thinking of these ideas. Come the Land Conservancy wants to chime in on their plan, so it's just, I think just 10 days would sort of defeat the purpose. I think if we just do July, that's.
But, okay, there may be people that already have ideas, we're not inspiring you to go find
No, I
ideas.
mean,
So
thorough.
there may be people, once they notice that the public hearing is open again, they may already have them and they wanna submit them. And then on the 23rd, if we decide, well, we can keep this open, we're not gonna close it, then it can just continue and people can submit. But right now, it's not an inspiration to go find ideas.
No, it's
What it is to submit what you did not get a chance to submit.
right, but do we wanna hold, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Cassandra.
It's okay.
What was the, for a second, I just went, it is 10 and I've been up.
No,
That's
okay.
like 5. I'm sorry.
You work early, I know, it's like 6.
10 to 5 and I was home just for a little portion of time to take care of the dog. My question to you is, you gave 3 options.
Mhm.
What was that third option? The brain is churning and I can't get it all together again.
So you could just.
But I think I like the third one.
You could keep the public hearing open to a date to be determined, we already voted to open it, so it's open.
Right.
You don't set a hearing date, and then you just wait, you set the hearing date at the July meeting, when you have a better idea of when you can have a meeting, but you have to have a 10-day notice, so it wouldn't be till the end of July or August.
So then it would be in August, because.
Yeah, but if you wanna do July 15th, it has to be voted on today.
Right.
Okay.
Here's one other way to look at it. If we set the public hearing, if people have new comments in the public and they're working to deliver those comments in the most comprehensive and efficient and articulate way for us to consider, and they're not gonna be ready in 10 days, and we have to hold another public hearing the month after, would we rather go to 2 public hearings or 1?
No, meaning you're gonna keep it open, not have to, like, in other words, it's not gonna close on that day, it's gonna continue.
Right, but then,
In other words, what you're saying is that if we open it on the 23rd, have those that have their things ready, we can continue that public hearing until next month. We don't have to close it on the 23rd.
right, but will we have to have another special date
Well, let's,
in July? And then I'm saying, do we have 2 extra public hearings when we could just have 1 if it's a little bit later?
And that's what we did last month, that you're saying people just, it's too much overflow and we wanna reopen it. So it's the same thing in a sense, that we could continue that public hearing. I don't see it as another public hearing, I see it as a continuation. Where people that came on the 23rd will probably not be coming back on the next day we have it. So it may be less of a crowd.
Right, but it's more dates that we have to show up to
Yes.
the public hearing.
Not necessarily on the second, if we keep it open, it can go then with the regular meeting. If we decide, well, we had a lot of people coming, we only got a few people that wanna come back, or something like that.
but let me just ask, to your question, because we've established that the 23rd is a date where we can meet. Your question was, will we be able to have a forum on the 15th?
Yes,
Are you available?
I am.
Are you better, Kevin?
Kiwi, yes.
That's what I said.
No,
I said, can we?
Kiwi, Miami.
like cake, like we kiss.
You're available. On the 15th.
Yes.
On
So
July,
you haven't,
July.
are you available? So is the hall available, or are we going to try to
Oh,
find?
miss it, yeah,
I think you should
Well,
just
we
set
have
it.
some time.
I have,
You just set it for the hall, and then if it gets moved, you don't have to re-vote on it, you just re-notice it, so it's fine.
Because we would have time to do that.
Exactly.
This gives us time also.
So are you available?
Oh, it goes.
me and Victoria are available that day, and you have to ask Christian, but usually in advance. Our issue is like, we luckily, it looks like our meeting was canceled, but you can't just, it's hard to schedule meetings with like your consultants, because we also sit on their boards that meet on the dates. So.
Right.
The 15th is, let me see, so I'll be back in the radio.
Oh, we're available here.
Yeah, I'm already on Tuesday, so I will be on the 8th.
Yeah.
She's on the first on the 8th, so the 15th is odd week, so yeah,
15th is a Tuesday.
yeah. I usually I'm on the radio on Tuesday, so. But I will be free the 15th. I can't be.
Okay. So you guys have a quorum, I won't be here.
So you'll have to run
Wait a
the
minute, Jean,
Yeah. All right, so let's do, no, this is July.
You'll have to run the meeting, she won't be present.
All right.
I won't be present, so you
All
have
right,
to.
so I'll amend my, for the sake of, no, I will amend my motion from the 23rd to the
July 15th, amen.
Motion to set a public hearing on July 15th at the firehouse for the Calarusa dock application,
If it's available.
if it's
If
available.
it's available,
I make a motion.
And I second that.
Tina second, okay,
and if it's not available,
no,
it has to come here.
Yeah.
yeah, it's not
Keep
available, we'll
going,
figure it
guys.
out, just say.
Go with the vote.
I tried to get a.
Aye.
to raise his glass.
All right, let's go.
Say to be determined,
Gene,
No.
what?
you said no, it's not available on the 15th.
I'm not
No,
available.
you said
You're
no.
just voting, guys.
Say no, you're voting no.
Oh, no, to be, well, that was the question.
What's the, repeat the, motion.
I asked, the question is, the motion is for a special meeting, are you available?
Hold on.
Oh,
guys.
no, I'm sorry, no.
It's
not a special meeting, the motion.
Public hearing,
Public hearing
hearing
for the Calarusa dock
on March,
application
on July 15th.
at the firehouse. Do you want, like, you're not saying you can go or don't go, you're
Right.
just setting the date.
Right,
So I or abstain.
The date is July 15th at
Yes.
6:30.
yeah,
That's space to be determined.
right.
You can do that, it doesn't matter whether you change it.
Let's
because
do
it'll be
place to be
renoticed.
determined.
At place to be determined, that's fine.
No.
Alright, we have to re-vote if you change the motion, so motion to set a public hearing for Calarusa dock application on July 15th at a place to be determined at 6:30 P.M.
Okay, so,
Motion,
yeah, I make a motion,
I make a motion for an in-person public hearing for July 15th
at
at
6:30.
6:30.
well, but you can't make a motion on my motion.
Done,
You just have it.
Well, you didn't say in person.
All right, but you can't make a motion. on my motion. I'll send mine.
Okay.
You always set public hearings that way.
All right,
So motion, you have a second?
Second.
Okay, Gabby. Okay, now vote.
I,
What? To have to help me.
you know, I make,
Aye.
Aye.
See, I.
like, kill.
Much do it, much do it.
Yeah,
Teresa,
No, sir.
Veronica. The motion passes, okay,
fine.
so we will check with the firehouse, I will be in touch with Linda to notice the public hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Guys,
Thank you.
still have administrative housekeeping.
Yeah, we still got stuff to do, so don't move.
Vaya con Dios.
We're not midnight oil.
Thank you.
Don't thank us. Please, because we're doing it because, you know, we feel we have to keep up with what we're doing it for. Not because we're addressing public concerns. We're doing it because we feel that the public have more to say,
Yeah.
not because they were here today. We have to make sure that's, you know, made the truth, okay?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Calarusa can.
Yes.
Okay. All right, escrow, we're gonna discuss escrow now. Okay, who is in need to replenish their escrow?
We have 3 bills to be acted on tonight. First one is Barton and Lagudas, dated June 11th, 2025. You want the prices, the amount?
Yeah, Yes. So we're gonna do something.
$8,660. Second invoice. Rodenhausen, Chilali, and Polidoro,
Thanks, Gene.
dated 6/6/15 for $13,520.
Okay.
Third bill. Quality trophies for additional nameplates that were ordered and presented last month. Total of $60. There are 3 invoices for submission and vote.
You want a motion?
Need a motion, yes.
As first,
No, can you get a motion to pay the bills?
And I will second that motion to pay the bills.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Uh,
the trophy bill, I know, but the trophy bill, we gotta get your nameplate. Gabby.
Okay.
Thanks for running.
yes.
I have both.
Okay, now we're gonna go through the escrow.
It's planning board.
There it is over there.
Escrow accounts. Cassandra. Escrow accounts as of today, with the bills that were just approved. Carl Russo is minus $4,043.81.
So we need a
I
resolution.
gave you
So
that.
you need a motion to set, you need a motion to, you need a motion to renew escrow for.
Replenish escrow.
There we go, sorry guys, it's like replenish escrow for a predetermined amount, so how much do you want to do?
The short $4,043.81.
Plus, obviously, there's additional review happening,
And there
so.
will be with a public hearing coming up and our continued review.
Thank
So everybody understands the escrow that everybody understands the escrow that we collect from the applicants to pay the consultant, the planning board consultant and attorney.
I say 10.
And Gene is in charge of that, so when they go under, when they don't have enough, we do a resolution to establish, that's when they first come on, and then a resolution to replenish as they go on. So he's saying that, Caruso is, they owe us money now.
There was money, well, after today's bills, yes.
So you would need a motion to replenish, escrow for Colarusso for $10,000.
Make a motion, what you said,
But how much, first we gotta figure out how
I
much,
said 10.
okay?
Randall, okay, second.
Keely.
Haley, okay,
Replenish.
Mr. Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just said Michael's.
No, it's Michael.
Yeah, well,
All right.
oh, I wonder if it's right on that.
so yeah, there's a motion, so.
Okay, so all in favor?
Passes.
Any opposed? So the motion passes that,
Caluso.
Caluso,
Replenish.
replenish escrow for 10,000.
Okay, next one, boulevards. With the bills submitted today, they're minus $3,430.16.
What? How did they get that?
I got the bills today from
Okay.
RCP.
Oh, I see, yeah, okay,
They had 459,
okay.
but with today's bills, the minus now.
It's
So we,
conditional.
yeah, so we need a motion for them
And
to.
we're done with them.
I say
No,
6.
not
No,
really.
they have not met the
They have
conditions.
Well,
conditions,
they got conditions.
Yeah, but
and
don't,
they'll be working with them.
I would
Which
set it
costs
for
money.
5.
Oh,
yeah, I was gonna say 6, how much money do they need to clean up?
It's a
They
lot.
get it back.
It's a ton of engineering comments, not a ton of legal, so I don't know, I honestly, you might be,
7,
yeah, probably.
so 7. That takes into account the 4 they have and then $3,000
The
to finish it
motion,
up.
put the motion on the table.
I make a motion for, to replenish, the boulevards to replenish the escrow at 7,000.
Can I second?
Yep, Russo second,
Did you second?
she did.
All in favor?
I-
Well, you should go to ask that. Who are all in favor? You made the motion.
No, but you should, you're the chair.
She's a opinion.
Yeah, move it along.
This one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's left over from before, isn't it?
No.
Oh, no, they still haven't done their sidewalk.
So, okay. 601 Union Street, Today's bills incorporated is minus $113.25.
They haven't done this sidewalk easement?
Still, no, maybe they submitted something in the last couple of days and I've been swamped, so I may not have reviewed it yet, but not currently, I haven't reviewed it.
This is for the curb cut, right?
Curb cut.
For the,
$500 is plenty.
fine,
No, they already owe us money.
They owe us
400.
$113.25.
Is all the bills submitted from Christian?
So-
No, they're done, the only thing outstanding for 601 Union is the sidewalk easement. I don't know, 500, 1,000, plenty, I mean,
600, it says one
I'm just
hundred
gonna
plus
post the
the five.
easement, it will not take me hours to review an easement, so.
Yeah, so 100 plus 500,
Who's putting the motion on?
again, make most.
I make a motion. $500. From 601 for
It's already in the
$600.
negative in the red.
Yeah, before, second, anyone second?
For how much did we decide, 600?
600,
600 or 500?
she said 600,
600.
okay, alright, and then vote.
Who's?
Oh,
Aye.
Well, who's the first?
I first.
Gabby
Who's
was
the second?
Okay, you go by Gabby, right? Is
Either
that
one.
okay? Alright, I just wanna make sure I'm being respectful. Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
And then,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mill Street lofts. Minus $5,043.25.
significant engineering review needed.
Like 15,000 or more, which I, yeah.
They have-
They're in the negative more than anybody else.
They had the balance
No,
of,
they, everybody.
Also, you still have the fence review pending, and I have the deed review pending, there's a lot of this on stuff.
Still 15,000.
For thinking,
This is our first chat with them because they had initially put 25,000 down. So,
Okay, so motion for 15K from Randall, who seconds?
how much?
what?
I second it.
How much was it?
Oh, I actually made it first.
Oh, sorry, Bettina made it, you're right, Bettina.
I'll second it.
Wait, what was the amount?
15.
Bettina and Randall seconds, fine. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, I tried to do it small, okay.
You're gonna send me that with all the first and seconds, right? Thank you, please.
I'm done.
Okay, get down.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, wait a minute, now I need a motion to, did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes for, May 29th?
Yes.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the minutes to May 29th?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn this, planning board meeting?
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Turn that off.
You the hard side.
You guys gotta start timing, and be like, "Well, what about our hard stop conversation?"
Yeah, you didn't enforce the hard stop today.
I